Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brewbuilt X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brewbuilt Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brewbuilt line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brewbuilt X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brewbuilt Conicals. You can trust Brewbuilt with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brewbuilt at morebeer.com.
The mysterious Graham Box from More Beer brings you this Brewing Network Sunday session. See the Graham Box affordable control unit at morebeer.com.
Great beer is about drinkability. Doesn't matter the style.
You guys are like walking beer Wikipedia. That's the first time that you've ever accepted me as a person.
Or you have a fermentation in your gut.
Yeah.
I'm jet propelled at all times.
How many guys do you think that you have the privilege to slap?
Somebody who's never tasted a commercial example, and this is how you know everything about this beer? Please, you don't.
I think that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit too.
Wow. Are you guys going to arm wrestle?
No.
We're going to teabag fight instead.
You heard of Junkyard Wars?
Can I get another high five, Beavis?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
And it's The Session live once again from Downtown Joe's. We got a pretty full house out there today, which is good to see. And thanks for having us back, Colin.
Thank you.
Look at all those people out there. I don't think they came for us. They came for Tasty's beer.
I think they all came to see Kim Wood myself.
That's possible.
I personally think they all came just to go into the really futuristic bathroom.
It is a very futuristic
The only thing you have to touch is your wiener. You don't have to flush anything, and you put the thing, and the thing comes out, you dry your hands. It's all awesome.
Well, another $10 you get a touch for you, too. It's pretty cool.
That is pretty good. Who do I pay? I owe someone money. I think Schumann's back there.
Yeah, he is.
Well, welcome out to Downtown Joe's, everybody. We're at downtown Napa at the historic Downtown Joe's building.
Yes.
And I don't even know how many times we've been here, but every time it's a lot of fun, and a lot more people come out every time.
Yeah, this is a huge turnout. That's great.
You know, speaking of the high-tech bathroom, we discover something new every time we come out here. Colin likes to make things difficult on us. For one, they rebuild the place.
One day he's going to make a hologram where you walk into a wall. He's going to screw with everybody's head.
So, you know, Colin has this newfangled Wi-Fi internet thing going throughout the building, and he's had that since we did our first broadcast. And it was never a problem. We can all just log in and use it. And this is how long we've been doing shows at Downtown Joe's. It used to be that not everybody in the world had a smartphone. So there was no bandwidth trouble. So I thought, well, it's just the same as always. But now every third person in this room is Facebooking right now, and you're all here but not really here. You're virtually somewhere else. Yeah. And so I'm saying this for the folks at home that you're probably not going to get a live video feed today because of all the jerks Facebooking. So don't blame it on me. Blame it on these jerks.
Yeah.
But the audio stream is working. You can listen live. I would recommend, if you're in the area, just coming down to Downtown Joe's instead.
Please do.
And then you can listen to us here. You can look at Colin's pretty face, and you can drink Tasty's beer.
And you're live in 3D.
Yeah, all the smart people are here. So.
We're in 3D.
Well, and you can help prevent anybody else from getting a video chat. Come down and use your smartphone. Free Wi-Fi. Just help screw everybody else.
Take the whole thing away.
Yeah.
See if we can kill all of the bandwidth all in one show. Well, we're always doing new things out here at Downtown Joe's, and tonight's no exception. We've got a really fun topic to talk about that especially you homebrewers are going to be interested in.
Bottle caps.
We're going to talk about bottle caps all night long. Well, what Colin and Tasty, our trusty co-host down there at the end, has done, they've started a process of designing an all-new pale ale for Downtown Joe's, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. The first of their experiments is on tap tonight. Does that have a name yet, tonight's experiment?
No, we're hoping to get some help from the chat room and from the audience, and maybe we'll have a name.
We can name it. Okay, so we might get to name a beer tonight. It's the first of 5 attempts, and at the end, the goal is that Colin has a brand new pale ale to serve here at Downtown Joe's, and we're lucky enough to be a part of it through our very own Tasty.
So you have a limit of five batches until you get it right?
You know, my experience is within about 5 batches, we'll have it dialed in pretty close.
I like, it's almost like a budget.
Yeah.
Where you have a set amount, you're not going to go beyond this point, and we'll reassess at that time. I like it. It's kind of a neat little, a lot of homebrewers, when they kind of redo their batches, they just keep doing it in perpetuity. I've been doing my oatmeal stout for like 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point, you just go, look, dude, it's not. You're not doing anything.
At some point, it's the brewer, not the recipe.
At some point, it is. I haven't reached that point yet.
You have to figure that out.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. If you're a home brewer, you're going to get to learn about how a small brew pub designs a recipe, and in turn, how you can design your own recipe. So Colin will talk to us all about that tonight, along with Tasty's help. It's almost a Tasty show, really.
It really is. Yeah.
Because the man has 2 different beers on tap. He's got his Janet's Brown that was brewed up the road there at Russian River Brewing Company. And then, of course, he's got the pale ale he brewed with Colin.
It is a convergence, for sure.
Now, Tasty, you've been on a micro tour with that Janet's Brown.
Right, it's a mini rollout, they call it. Yeah.
Well, I get a text from you about every day, and you're on your way to another bar where they're releasing your beer.
Yeah, I was able to schedule the delivery of the beer and everything, so I kind of got them all kind of put together.
When's the last time you paid for a beer, Tasty?
I'm getting a lot of free beer this week, for sure.
It's been a month or so since you've had to buy a beer.
Yeah, really.
I'm sure of it. All right, so we can try that tonight. Ask for Janet's Brown on tap if you want to try the Russian River Janet's Brown. I've got it in front of me, and it's a great batch this time around, Tasty.
Yeah, it's very good. I couldn't be more pleased as to how good it is just right now at this very moment.
Yeah.
Really good.
Doesn't need to age out.
It's ready to go. Yeah, the other last year's batch needed a little more time.
Yeah.
And by the time it got that time, it was gone. So
okay. And I've already had the pale ale tonight, too. I've had a couple pints. I would say that one doesn't need any time either.
No, it's ready to go,
it's
too.
Fresh and nice.
It's real, like brewery fresh, very drinkable. Yeah.
So we'll find out what Colin thinks about it and what he's going to change next as the show goes on. First, we have a couple of announcements and different things to do, like we normally do on the program. Once again, those of you at home, the video feed will probably not work tonight, but you can always go to the old-fashioned audio stream, the same thing we've been doing for years, and check it out there. We want to thank our official sponsor, Beer, Beer, and More Beer. You can go to morebeer.com and check it out. They've been our sponsor since before day one. And Colin used to work for them. It's a big, happy family once you get More Beer involved. And they are now the official sponsor of the Sunday session, have been for a few months.
Awesome.
So every episode we do is brought to you directly from them. So give them a thank you. Go over to morebeer.com and buy something. Buy something big.
Yes. Many times over, please.
Buy lots of big things.
And they're also just great guys over there. The 4 owners are just really good people, good guys.
They are.
They deserve success.
Fun to hang out with, too, I will add.
The 2 best people have already come and gone from there. Is that right? Or what, everybody?
Did
That's
you leave,
true.
JP?
There are 2 former More Beer employees sitting right here.
That's true.
The artists formerly known as More Beer employees.
Yeah. Well, I was their number 6 employee. I was the 6th person hired there, yeah.
I'm pretty sure JP was number 2.
I was 1.
You were 1?
Yeah.
Well, not counting Olin, then.
Well, no.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you count yourself. Well, Regan, I guess, was number 1 part-time. I was first full-time, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
The difference here being that Colin had another gig lined up when he left.
I actually worked both jobs for 2 years.
I technically have well, it depends. Is anyone here from the unemployment office?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, then I don't have another job.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing lined up.
No.
All right. Okay, couple of other announcements. There will be no show next week, of course, because it's Thanksgiving, and believe it or not, I have things to do. So there will be no Thanksgiving. I did read while I was using the state-of-the-art restroom that you can come have Thanksgiving dinner at Downtown Joe's, though.
Every year?
Which
that should be like singles night. You should make it like a singles night. Come and have Thanksgiving because either your family hates you or they're all dead.
Or you just don't want
no one to go with. Yeah.
At downtown,
by the way, JP fits under both of those categories.
I totally do.
At
My
Downtown
family hates
Joe's, we get to wear a lot of hats, and one of the hats that we get to wear is a singles club.
Really?
And so Thanksgiving, about 11 o'clock at night, boy, good time to meet girls.
See?
Is
What did I
that
just
right?
say?
I might ditch the family at about 10:30 on Thursday night.
And you know they got a lot of money.
And that's what happened. They come home, they're off at college. They come home, spend dinner with the family, then want to go see their friends.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they come out
Boyfriend's
here.
back at college.
Beautiful.
How about the night before, too?
I like
I know
it.
there's a few bars around the East Bay.
Yeah.
where that's the night to go of the year is the night before
To go pick
Thanksgiving.
up college bros.
Is because everyone is home and they're
For us, it'll be from Tuesday to Sunday.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All week long.
Yeah.
Well, we know what Colin's doing Tuesday through Sunday.
No, I'm happily married.
All right. All right, merchandise in the store. You can go to thebrewingnetwork.com/store. If you like any of these T-shirts we're wearing, they're available there. Also, signed yeast books from Jameel. Did you read that yet, Colin?
I've skimmed it now, but I haven't read it yet. But I have gone through and skimmed it.
I skimmed it also. I skimmed the acknowledgments to make sure my name was in them, and then I put the book down.
Spelled properly.
I actually really like some of the ways they tried to do disseminate information. I think they did a really good job.
I think so too. You can buy signed for both authors in the store right now. Also T-shirts and all sorts of stuff. You can subscribe and join the BN Army. You get auto entry into the More Beer donation giveaway, and you give us cash, and we like both of those things. Sign up for all these announcements on Twitter, twitter.com/Brewing Network, and Facebook.
Let's not forget lunch meat T-shirts are in the store. Signed copies of Brewing Classic Styles are
that's
in
right.
the store.
That's right.
Lunch meat T-shirts are in the store.
I have an old school lunch meat T-shirt to give away tonight.
I saw that. I was hoping you were
Brought
going to
it.
do
I
something.
Can I get an autographed lunch meat T-shirt?
Yes. You can have the one right here.
And JP actually just signs it all over it. Signs his name 100 times. You ask him for one autograph, boy, do you get an autograph.
Actually, just draw my likeness on the back.
All right, so we'll be giving away some T-shirts and things tonight. Show ideas go, as always, to Scott at thebrewingnetwork.com. Scott, is your family here tonight? Will they be offended if we call you Scott the Jew tonight? Yeah, I'm allowed to do that still. I always have to... Yeah, I'm sure they do. All right, Scott the Jew, our producer. Go to Scott at thebrewingnetwork.com. Send your ideas that way. Send your feedback to feedback at thebrewingnetwork.com. All right, let's go right to our feedback segment, actually. And feedback is brought to you today by HopTech Homebrew in Dublin, California. If you are a home brewer and you need some supplies, go to HopTech Homebrew in Dublin or go to hoptech.com and check it out. They've been doing this for 28 years down there, I found out.
Wow.
The HopTech people. Very nice of them. You get a BN Army discount also. All right, feedback. Here we go. I wrote this feedback down because Drunk of the Week is a contest that we do here on the Brewing Network. For those of you who don't know, every week the drunkest person listening calls in and they compete for it and they try to prove to us how drunk they are. And occasionally it becomes a pretty aggressive contest, and people get upset if they don't win, and I get emails about it that usually come through at about 2 a.m.
Yeah, or they call back.
Yes.
And keep calling. This is what I should have won.
So this one came through from a Pythoner in the chat room, and he says, last week I kept calling and had more than any contestant, and you would not take my call. You should have, because I have a hop grenade tattoo and I am drunk.
Wow, I'm sorry. You didn't get to be the drunkest retard of the week.
So that's partially my point, Bevo. That I can't believe how coveted this prize is. Kind of makes me happy inside that it is very coveted. But
it is very coveted.
We never not take your calls. We open up the phone lines, and then what happens is you guys are so drunk that you're not listening, and you make us sit there waiting for phone calls for 15 minutes.
You give drunks a bad name.
Yeah. So call in when we say we're accepting calls. You got to call in like then.
Yeah, try to be more functional.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah.
It's functional drunk of the week is what we're going to have to give out.
FDOC.
First requirement.
I'd win every week if it was functional. And sometimes Doc.
You're drinking most of them.
That's probably true. Actually, Collins would be tough in the functional drunk of the week category too. All right, so just compete accordingly and make your phone calls often and early. Tonight we might just have our drunk of the week for somebody here in the room.
I've never gotten the Drunk of the Week officially, and yet...
Are you sure? I thought I gave it to you once.
No, I never got the medal. I'm not on the website, so officially I don't think I ever got it. But I do believe I am the only guest to throw up on the air.
When did
and then shouldn't that just qualify me right there?
No. That puts you in the running. We give extra points for throwing up on the air.
Did I miss that? I do not remember that.
You've missed several Downtown Joe's shows.
That's
JP.
true. I have.
And I do think he didn't do it right here.
No.
He ran away. We did a chug, and Colin went running, and I saw it on his face. I knew the run. I've done the run before, so I could recognize it.
It was funny. It turned instantly to foam as soon as I chugged it. And it just, I wasn't even drunk. It was just like, okay, that's all foam. This is not going to work.
The funny part was that he actually ran into the manager's office, not the bathroom. He didn't know till after.
Actually, there was a line to the bathroom, so I ran into the fermentation cellar and used the trough drain.
All right. Try Colin's beer, everybody. Okay, some more feedback. Greg wrote into us, hey, I just wanted to write in and say thanks to the BN for everything you do. The information I picked up on your shows helped lead to my first competition win. My double IPA won its category and went on to get second place in Best of Show.
Right. Yeah. Good job.
In the New England Regional Homebrew Competition, it scored a 39.5.
Wow.
That's pretty good, dude.
It's a good score.
Not bad.
Yeah. I scored a 9.5 once. That's about the
lowest score I've ever given is a 13.
That you've ever given out?
Yeah.
That's pretty low, actually.
Yeah, it was. I was trying to be charitable.
There was very little of value in that beer.
Yeah, it was pretty hard to actually take a second sip.
Right. Oh, that's too bad. So let's see. He put down the Brewing Network as his club, so the BN Army got some points in the competition, and he lives way up there in Maine where there's not a lot of clubs, so he's happy that we're here. His other two beers he entered was a Belgian Blonde and an American Pale Ale. He got a 29 and a 27, respectively. So they didn't do quite as well, but I appreciated the feedback on it. So
great. I have some Brewing Network Facebook friends from Maine, and they're really avid Belgian beer brewers and drinkers. They have lots of good advice about it. So tell them to go on Facebook and start finding some of those people, because they've come visit me here.
Oh, right.
And they brought me good beers. And
they're BN people.
And they're BN people.
Okay. Yeah. All right, check it out. All right, here's a question for you, Colin, that came through for our feedback. Mills writes in and says, hey, Jay, some local pro brewers have mentioned that a lot of small brew pubs repitch their yeast blindly using guesswork about volumes, pumping just from one conical to another.
Yeah, it's called cone-to-cone transfer.
Okay. He says, I've learned from you guys the importance of yeast counts and health. Being that I'm going to be making the shift from home brewer to pro brewer, I would love some assistance with this. I take great pains at home to pitch yeast at appropriate volumes, and I know that it will be paramount to me excelling on the pro side. So the question for Colin and the rest of the brewcasters, how do small microbreweries properly measure and pitch yeast in a closed, sanitary way?
Magic. Next question.
Well, okay, so first off, mine isn't a closed pitch.
Okay.
So I actually collect it into a bucket, then I evaluate it with the same ways that you would as a home brewer.
How do you collect it? Just from the blow-off?
Yeah, I have a bunch of fittings that brings up my bottom fitting to about 2 feet off the ground, and I just drop it into a bucket.
Okay.
And depending on how it's flowing, I know how thick it is. If it's really thick, then I might pitch, say, 2 gallons. Okay. If it's really thin, I might pitch 4 gallons.
Okay.
But I don't do any tests for vitality, viability, or cell count.
You don't?
I do it all by brewer's feel. Taste the last batch, collect it, see how it feels, and then when I'm happy, I'll pour it into the next fermentation.
So I think that's kind of what he's saying, that most pro brewers just transfer it to another vessel, but they're not doing a lab.
No, there's another way, which is even scarier for me, and it's called cone-to-cone pitching. And all you do is sanitize a hose and cook it from the bottom of one fermenter to the bottom of another fermenter, and push it over with a sight glass and push it over with CO2.
Okay.
And you don't have any idea what your volume is. You don't have any idea of where your vitality is. All you have is whatever that little window shows you.
Okay.
And that's scary. But some of my favorite breweries do it.
Okay. Now, the way you do it, without doing any cell count tests, without doing a lab, is this a method because it's how you have to do it, or is it your preferred method? Because he wants advice on how he should do it.
It was the method I inherited.
Okay.
And now that I've done 850 batches here, I'm pretty comfortable with it.
Okay.
If I had some lab kit to sit around and do cell counts for me, I'd do a cell count every time.
Then you would do.
Yeah, but it's an extra hour that I just don't have for every batch of beer.
Okay. All right. That's your feedback for today. A couple announcements from Shat's announcements, who's not sitting here to do it for us, but I do remember I need to get them out there. You know, you can sign up to win a trip to the Great American Beer Festival.
Really?
Yeah, everything paid. You get a hotel, you get a pass to every session and flight. Just by going over to homebrewersassociation.org and becoming a member. It's free to sign up. You don't have to be AHA. You sign up at homebrewersassociation.org. That allows you to post on the forum and use the forum. And everybody who signs up right now is being entered to win a trip to the Great American Beer Festival.
So you don't need to be a member to do that?
I don't think you do.
That's pretty awesome if that's true.
I could be wrong about that. I should know these things, I suppose. I was told that you just have to sign up on the website for a chance to win a ticket to the Great American Beer
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you can do that. Also, the American Homebrewers Association, along with the Brewing Network, is giving away a pass to, actually a couple of passes, to the National Homebrewers Conference in June, which is down in San Diego this year. For that, you do have to be an American Homebrewers Association member. You also have to be a donating member of the BN Army. And if you do that, we will sign you up for a chance to win passes to the National Homebrewers Conference. So
that's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to that.
It's going to be fun this year. I booked our rooms, by the way.
Oh, really?
So we're good. That's something I usually forget to do.
Did you get me one?
I got you a room.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I did get you a room. I assumed you wouldn't have much to do around that time, JP.
What do you mean? That I can't get a job?
Between now and next June?
Yeah.
It's going to be a long dry spell, you're saying.
Yeah. You've seen my resume. You probably know.
I'm just, I'm rooting for you. But I'm planning otherwise. Is that all right?
That's acceptable. That is very acceptable.
So I got us rooms, and there's rumors that we might have a suite to party in, too.
Oh. I like suites. That'll be good. Maybe I can stay in the closet of the suite.
Yeah, that's what I planned. The beds are all taken up everywhere else. You'll be in the closet.
No, it's not the suite. It's the hella sick.
Yes.
That's what it is.
All right, don't forget that today's feedback was brought to you by HopTech Homebrew in Dublin, California. You can go to hoptech.com and check it out by all your homebrew needs.
And those are nice people. The HopTech folk, nice folk.
Very nice folks.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get a job there next?
No, I'm
nice
done.
And good looking.
I'm done with make all of these kits.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about pale ale and recipe formulation with Colin and Tasty. Hang in there. It's The Session live from Downtown Joe's.
Listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
Hey, Push, the new brewery's looking good.
Thanks, Finn. Piece by piece.
Well, let's fire her up. Whoa! Is that a new kettle?
Yeah, just got it brand new, but paid half price.
What? And that blade scale?
40% off.
And the new tap handle?
$5 instead of $13. Got a new regulator for the brew stand, too, but $5 instead of $25.
Dude, where are you stealing all this stuff from?
Where else? The More Beer deal of the day.
Announcing the Beer, and More Beer deal of the day. Every day, a new fantastic deal from big items to small that will blow you away. Boil kettles, carboy carriers, sterile siphon starters, digital timers. Watch morebeer.com every day for a new deal, and you just might find the item you've been waiting for at a price you cannot believe. Hurry, because stock is limited on most items.
And that sweet Guinness cap, let me guess.
The More Beer deal of the day.
Yeah, I knew it. Come on, let's brew something. Find the More Beer deal of the day at morebeer.com. Celebrity voices impersonated.
In Hut, BN Army. Chip Walton here with Brewing TV. Wanted to thank your ranks first of all for all your support. We deeply appreciate it. The latest episode highlights the making of a very unique beer. Watch as our guest host brew Sati. Unhopped, unboiled, and totally badass. Check it out right now at brewingtv.com. Look for our episode on Surly Brewing Company to drop December 3rd. All for brew, brew for all. As you were.
Downtown Joe's, located in the historic Oberon building in beautiful downtown Napa, California, offers an award-winning brew pub experience from 8:30 a.m. to 1 a.m. every day. For 15 years at the corner of 2nd and Main, Downtown Joe's has been voted Best Night Spot 7 times and Best Brew Pub for the last 4 years in a row. Brewmaster Colin Kaminsky's handcrafted ales, like his Tail Wagon Amber Ale and Double Secret Probation IPA, are the perfect accent to riverside dining, live music, and a relaxing outdoor patio. Don't miss the Beer of the Month, special rotating taps, and the BN Army Member Special. Wear your BN gear, get 10% off your beer. Visit downtownjoes.com to make reservations, peruse their extensive calendar of events, or just read more about their fantastic beers. Come enjoy the fine beer, food, and music. Downtown Joe's, the award-winning brew pub where you'll feel at home.
You're listening to the Brewing Network. Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck.
All right, welcome back to the program. It's the session live from Downtown Joe's, and come on out and join us. There's lots of good stuff happening out here. I just met Moscow's parents, actually.
Oh, really?
They had come out to support, and
they admitted that they were his parents?
They admitted. They called themselves the Super Jews that produced Scott the Jew.
Oh.
So, but then his mother proceeded to inform me about how big Scott is.
Like,
I don't know what she meant. She just said he's I said he's like mini Scott, and she said no, he's big Scott.
And they just gave you a look?
It was odd.
Yeah, that's one thing Jews are not inhibited about, is talking about the size of their offspring's Johnson.
I guess so, because she just looked me right in the eye and she said, no, he's big Scott.
Yeah, I would like to continue perpetuating the fact of the Jew,
the big Scott.
the large
but
downstairs.
Not from your mom.
But from whoever.
Yeah.
All right, so lots to do here that don't have to have anything to do with genitals. We're going to be
the media.
I mean, until another 5
Sounds
minutes.
Sounds like a Rush Limbaugh hour now. Jews and the media.
We find another way to stick genitals in. All right, we're talking about pale ales today,
We are.
and I do have a couple of pale ales in front of me, actually. One from a listener, Mike, brought me his.
What?
And then, of course, I have Mike Tasty McDole and Colin's pale ale in front of me.
I don't have...
As I mentioned in the beginning of the program, we are going to be talking about designing recipes here tonight and how a brewer goes through the process of doing that. And the way we're going to describe that to you here is that Colin has decided that he needs a new pale ale recipe. Now, why have you decided that? Let's get to the root of things, and why do you want a new pale ale recipe? What's wrong with yours?
Well, and this is something that I think has been bugging me for a really long time. When I started working at Downtown Joe's 9 years ago, I drank our pale ale more than any other beer. So it was a style that I was very comfortable with. It was very familiar. It was very accessible. And if I was just bored and walked up to the bar, I'd grab a pint of pale ale. I'd move on. I'd go do something. But in the last 6 or 8 years, I think as an industry, we've forgotten what pale ales are supposed to be. These pale ales keep creeping into something that's a baby IPA, or they get so light they're trying to be a big Budweiser. And both strategies, I think, are wrong. And, I don't want to mention any names, Sierra Nevada, but being a big Budweiser isn't what a pale ale Sierra Nevada is supposed to be. And
there goes that sponsorship.
We had them, too. They were that close.
Yeah.
But, when you talk to the guys at Sierra Nevada, they know exactly what it is they're doing and why they're doing it.
Sure.
I think that's appropriate. For what they're doing in their brand, I think that's appropriate.
Yeah.
When you taste their beers, like I have a brown ale tonight that's pouring from Sierra Nevada, that's absolutely phenomenal.
The tumbler?
Yeah. They make some of the best beers in the industry.
Agreed.
But the pale ale has become lighter and lighter and lighter. I've been drinking it longer than I've been 21, which tells you
Sure.
How long that's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least 5 years.
Yeah. Add a 2 before that.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
The brewery was 2 years old when I started drinking Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Oh, is that right? Okay. So you had the fresh stuff.
Yeah, I had the original Sierra Nevada beers.
All right.
And I was like 17 or 18 years old at the time. So
well,
that's what I thought a pale ale was supposed to be. And then they started getting lighter, and as brewers, we started making IPAs small and trying to do whatever we could do. And when I was finally tasting my pale ale, it wasn't a British pale ale. It wasn't caramel enough. It wasn't like a Sierra Nevada because it had way too much hop character, way too much body, but it wasn't an IPA either. And every time I go to a homebrew event, Mike McDowell's got the Tasty APA there. And that's the first thing I do is find a pint glass, get a pint of Tasty APA, and walk around and taste everybody's beers, knowing for sure that I've got a good beer I can drink.
So now here's what I want to ask you about that, because I was, and Tasty, this is nothing against you. I was with you about how the style has changed right up until you said that Tasty's is the right example of it, and I'll tell you why. Because I love a pale ale. And I think that Tasty's pushes the IPA mark, just like you kind of said in the beginning. It's a lot of hops. It's kind of bitter. It's right at the cusp there, isn't it?
Well, what I like about it is the hops overwhelm the bitterness, so it's not too bitter.
Okay.
There's enough body that it feels like you're drinking a British beer. It's not light and thin.
I'll give you that, yeah.
Now, if what I wanted to do was make a Tasty APA... Mike's recipe's everywhere.
Sure.
You just, get a bottle and he's got it glued to the bottle.
Every time, yeah.
So it would have been very easy for me to just clone that beer. But I didn't want to clone that beer because while that beer's great for me, that beer wouldn't be a big seller here.
Okay.
Because there's too floral. There's too much going on. It's not... What I wanted to do was make a beer that had all those characters that the Tasty APA has, but make them subtle. Leave them in the background. Let people work to discover them instead of having it be so in your face like the APA.
Okay.
And I knew because I liked the balance of that beer so much, the perfect person to help me was Mike.
Well, that I agree with. He's a great recipe developer, and he knows his hops inside and out. So I think it's a good place to start. I have to say, and I think you guys know this on the show, I think maybe aside from sour beer, pale ale is my favorite style of beer. And this is why I was excited about this show, because I agree with you that I think it's been lost in a lot of American craft brewing. I don't mean that nobody's producing a good pale ale. I just tend to think that, they're either thin and harsh, or they're overly hoppy, and it might as well be an IPA. But I love a good, balanced, hoppy tasting, but not bitter pale ale. So I'm glad that you're taking it on, just so I get to talk about this style.
Well, and I agree with you completely, and I kept modifying my recipe. And the more I modified my recipe, the more muddled it started to get.
Okay.
And maybe if I had a touch of this. No, maybe not. Maybe if I do this. And I have 100 iterations of recipes on my old pale ale. And when I tasted it, I never felt like I'd gotten anywhere.
Okay.
Yeah, was it drinkable? Yeah. Was it a big selling beer here? Yeah. But it wasn't a beer that I, at the end of the day, said, man, I am so proud I've got that beer on tap. It was a beer that I thought I was proud of my work on it. But what it really needed was a ground-up rewrite.
All right.
And with the ideas of that I've been talking about in mind. So I called Mike up and I asked him about that. And I don't know if he wasn't sure if I was serious or not in the beginning, but he kind of like, well, yeah, we might be able to do something like that. And I'm like, no, let's do it. Let's do it. So now I've done here...
He was probably just still sitting in his boxer shorts. He wasn't ready to be serious about anything.
At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, what else are you going to do? That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
In preparation for this, I've done 5 ground-up pale ale recipes this fall.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so one of which was all dry hops, or all wet hops, rather. One of which was a fairly normal pale ale recipe, dry hopped with wet hops.
Okay.
Some were just random ideas. Oh, well, what if we try this?
But
not spend a lot of time on them.
Okay.
And I came up with some neat beers. But none of them nailed what I wanted to hit.
And we had all those available to us when we designed this recipe.
That's what I wanted to know.
When we took a pen and started talking about it, we had all those pale ales. plus the Tasty APA had that here as well.
Okay.
So we had like a little, kind of a balance of things to look at, and knew the recipe for each one, of course. So that's what, that was our starting point.
So let's start there. Let's use that as our starting point as well, because you mentioned that you had several iterations of your own pale ale recipe, and it ended up just muddled every time you did it. So you wanted to start fresh and strip it down. And I think a lot of brewers have that problem when they try to modify their existing recipe. Let's take JP's Oatmeal Stout, for example.
Let's do that.
If he just, over time, if you just keep tweaking the exact same thing, eventually I think you need to strip it down and start new.
Well, if you want to make little changes, make little changes. If you want to make big changes, you have to make big changes. Yeah. And I'd really gotten to the point. And you guys can taste that. The pale ale that's pouring right now as our pale ale, whose name I won't mention on the air. We're going to call it Ace High Pale Ale because I'm not allowed to call it what the sign is right now.
Is that the one that's in my glass right now?
No, I don't know what you guys have.
Oh. But Ace High is your existing pale ale.
That's the existing pale ale recipe, and that is the end of about 100 generations of working with that recipe.
Okay.
And it's fun to taste them side by side. And then also pouring tonight is the Harvest Ale, which is 100 pounds of wet hops into 200 gallons of beer.
Okay. I think the beer that's in my glass is actually the Tasty Pale Ale, the fresh one you've done. So let's go back to your starting point. So you sit down with these 5 beers that Colin had, plus your Tasty APA, and you taste them all in front of you. What happens then, Tasty? Do you pick from the qualities that you like from each beer?
Well, yeah, a lot of it, the objective of the beer. Like, what are we trying to do? I think when we talked, we said, well, it'd be nice to have a pale ale that would really accentuate the malts, maybe less than the hops. So like a really good malt backbone we thought would be important to the beer. And we thought, a good part of that would be to possibly have a beer that didn't have any crystal malt, so that wouldn't come into play in the finish of the beer.
Because crystal malt would not help you with the body?
Well, it's going to be add a certain residual sweetness to the beer that we were going to try to not have, and therefore have a lower IBU beer.
In my experience, it adds a cloyingness to light, dry beers that I don't like. So I tend to not use caramel malts unless I'm trying to make things taste really British.
All right.
And then I'll use a lot of caramel malt. If I want it to really feel like a British malt house, I will use a lot of caramels.
So what do you think of instead, then, if you know you don't want to use some of these sweet crystal malts?
Well, I wanted a lot of mouthfeel, so my call on it was flake barley.
Yeah, that's how we got that. I think the sweetness comes out in the honey malt that we used. That seems to blend with the natural crystal that comes from the two-row itself.
Okay.
Or the Maris Otter we're using here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we should talk about the malt bill of this beer in particular. What percentage of it is just, I assume, base two-row?
Okay. So 64% of it was Maris Otter.
Okay.
And that's crisp Maris Otter, which is the one I prefer to use. 26% was Weiermann's Pilsner.
A German Pils for American Pale?
A German Pils. I love putting German malts into American beers. There's some really interesting flavors that Germany, because they make so many light-colored beers, they have really good light-colored malts. So I use them a lot.
So is that a way for you to add gravity and mouthfeel but not add a lot of color? Is that why the Pilsner?
No, I think it makes the beer a little bit lighter. If I would have done it with all Maris Otter, I think the beer would have tasted a little bit too nutty.
A little heavier.
And the Pilsner malt is it's crisper, it's more refreshing.
Okay.
And having that blend, which is something that comes from the Tasty APA recipe.
Yeah, that's a big Pilsner contribution. There's sort of a Tasty APA signature kind of thing. That's what that beer is a lot about, that. The fact that it's got that big percentage of Pilsner malt.
Which is interesting because I use Pilsner malt in my porter as well.
Yeah, sure.
For the same reason, to try to lighten the body.
That's very interesting to use Pils in a porter. I would never have thought of that. But I don't think of a lot of things.
In about that same ratio, too. And then we put in 5% Caravienne. Everybody pretty much uses Carapils for body.
Yeah.
When I burp and I've had Carapils, it tastes like Carapils.
Okay.
So I don't have any Carapils in the house. So
how about Carafoam? I use Carafoam instead of Carapils, a little sweeter. Have you used that?
Caribbean's a little bit sweeter as well.
What are the other differences? Why Caribbean? Is it just that it's a little sweeter?
Of all of them it's a little darker.
Okay.
And of all of them that I chew, it's the one I like to chew on the best.
Okay. That's right. If you go back to our old Colin episodes, he likes to really taste the malt he's going to use. Just chew on it.
Yeah, if you don't want to chew on the malt, I mean, some malts you'll use that you don't like to chew on because they'll break your teeth. But if it won't break your teeth and you like the taste, you'll probably like it in your beer.
Okay. So what percent was it, Caribbean, again?
5%.
5%, okay.
And then 5% honey malt. And, Mike, do you know how they make honey malt?
How they make it?
Yeah, do you know much about the malting
No,
on that?
I don't know much about that. I know it's just a great accent malt for beers. If you're trying to make a beer that tastes like honey, don't add honey to the beer. Add honey malt instead.
But it's not an adjunct, right? It's
malted barley.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But just done in such a way that it has a sweet honey character.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do they do it?
It's not nutty. It's more... I don't know. It's like if you had a Munich malt that was the same color. The Munich malt would be nutty and biscuity, but the honey malt isn't. So it's very interesting. It's nice, sweet, round flavors without the nutty, biscuity quality.
So in the... And I know there's more to the grain bill, but in the recipe building process, as a brewer, you're sitting there, you're going down this list... How do you just throw out honey malt? Have you used it in another beer? Where is the reference that honey malt comes into play? Because there's so many malts, right? How do you know which one to choose?
Mike and I both used it before, and so when he brought it up...
one of the Can You Brewed beers, I used it. I really liked it.
When he brought it up, it was just like, oh yeah, I know exactly how that would work.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just from past experience, Tasty,
sure. Once you've used it, you could and taste it in your beer.
Yeah. Okay.
It just becomes part of your palate. You can use it in other beers. It's pretty cool.
I've been using my porters for a long time.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's great. I mean, it is a great malt.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would never have thought to put it in a pale ale because, in my opinion, they should be a little drier. But it blends real well. It's
this is a dry beer.
We mash really high to get a certain amount of sweetness.
Yeah,
and then we thought that the honey would pair up with that and give a honey flavor.
Yeah, and it did.
Yeah, this could be called a honey pale. I think it has enough honey flavor.
Okay,
that you could call it that.
How high is really high when you say you mashed high?
153.
Yeah, 153.
10,000.
A really big fatty.
Well, high for here.
Yeah, high for here. Okay. I like to run in around 146, 148.
Really? I see.
So this is really high for me.
So did you fight Tasty on that, or did you?
No, but I set the kettle to mash in about 146, 148, and he got there and he's like, "Is that going to be hot enough?" It's like, "Well, what are we going to mash in on?" And he's like, "Well, I really want it up there."
Yeah.
Okay, and then I raised it about 2 degrees, and then we talked for a little while longer, and then we raised it up 2 more degrees, and
So by the way, this beer is really fabulous. I must say.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever we did. I'm like,
you're happy with it.
I like what we did. If we could make it better, that'd be great. But I really like how the beer turned out. The body is great.
Well, and Tasty's a hard ass. He might say it with a smile on his face, but he knows what he wants. So when I can picture him coming in and saying, now, Colin, that's not what we talked about. I want it at 153.
Right.
That's really where I want it.
Well, that all comes from the.
We had 4 hours to talk about everything before we started
for the grain delivery.
Right, my grain delivery was a day late.
Day late and a bad unloading job the guy did.
He dropped it onto the hood of a Volvo.
I heard. So right here in your parking lot next to the brewery,
right in the loading zone, right there. So the first parking spot on Main Street there.
So your grain guy comes in with a truck full of sacks of grain, and he drops a pallet.
Yeah, so it's 44 sacks on a pallet.
And he dropped the whole pallet on somebody's car?
Well, what happened was the lift gate wasn't all the way to the top.
Okay.
And so the pallet got stuck halfway going onto the lift gate, which is the scariest part of doing a delivery here.
Yeah.
And so he runs over and he flips the switch to lift the gate up to the top, but he didn't lower the pallet before he did that.
Oh.
So as soon as he lifted it up, the pallet starts going for this car. And I tried to grab onto the pallet handle.
Right.
But we got it set down and stopped just in time for about the top 8 sacks to just roll off onto this guy's hood.
Oh, and was the guy around?
55 times 8, and that's the poundage that hit this dude's hood.
I'm glad it wasn't a Volkswagen.
The guy didn't show up for about 4 hours.
Oh, man.
And I left a note on his car, said, "Hey, I'm the brewer downtown Joe's." And it turns out he was a really good friend of Joe Peatman's wife, so the owner's wife.
Oh, okay. So all will be fine.
Oh yeah, everything was fine. I think the driver got into a bit of trouble, but
right. Well, that was kind of a dumb move.
Yeah, it was.
All right. So, okay, did we miss anything in the grain bill?
Yes, I wanted a lot of mouthfeel. Because I didn't want it that watery, thin quality. And so we talked about a bunch of different ways that you might add mouthfeel. I mean, the easiest way might be to add just dextrin.
Okay.
Or we could have bumped up the Caribbean, or we could have picked any malts with unfermentables. Mike came up with wheat would have been an interesting idea.
Okay.
Flaked oats would have been an interesting idea. But it turned out I had a bunch of flake barley around. So barley, I think, fits the pale ale style a little better. But my call was flake barley, and he went with it.
So what is flaked barley? It is two-row, it's two-row barley. What is flaked barley?
Before you malt it, what you do is you gelatinize it like you would rice flakes or wheat flakes, or you gelatinize it. So you steam it.
Okay.
Like a rice cooker thing.
In something like a rice cooker. And then you squish it into something flat and dry it.
Okay.
Like if you ever opened flaked oats, like Quaker flaked oats, it's like that, but made from barley.
Okay.
And they do it before it's malted.
So does it add gravity? Does it add sugar to the beer?
It adds dextrose, unfermentables.
Unfermentables.
It dextrins.
Okay. So that's the body part, because you're left with this unfermentable long-chain sugars in the beer after fermentation.
That's right.
Okay. So what percentage of that was it?
2.5.
2.5. Okay, so tiny.
Yeah.
Relative to the rest of the grain bill.
But I find 2.5 makes a pretty big change.
Okay.
And then that's something Mike and I will talk about is where do we want to go with that? Do we want to go up or down? Because that's a really easy parameter for us to control.
Okay. Now, another part of the grain recipe building process is head retention as well, right? Do you consider that when you're building a recipe here?
Only if I'm adding adjuncts.
Okay. Otherwise, why? It's built in?
Yeah. 30 days of cold storage with all malt beer makes great heads.
It does. Okay. So you don't have to. I mean, I've heard
the base malt will give you everything you need.
Yeah, unless you ruin your head somehow by doing something stupid.
Okay.
Like putting soap in your glass or something.
Yeah.
You should have a nice head on an all malt beer.
Okay. Are there any other considerations in the grain bill besides you're looking for this mouthfeel, yet you're looking for dry, right?
We wanted to be able to support the hops, so we wanted to have enough flavors, and that's actually where the art of it comes in, and why I wanted to do it with Mike, because you can have all these really nice malt flavors, but if they don't match your hop flavors, they don't support each other and be synergistic, then you don't have a good beer.
Okay. So what is our gravity here with this grain bill? What's your OG?
I think we ended up at about 1058.
Yeah. Or 8 or 9. Yeah.
That's at the top of the style. Is that right?
It might be a little big. We can talk about changes, but I think that's one thing we might lower is
the reason why it crept up that big is because this is kind of done in. For me, this was 3 sacks of Maris, 2 sacks of Pilsner. One of my big buckets of Caribbean, one of my big buckets of honey, and 3 scoops of my flake barley.
Okay.
So this is all an easy to measure things because we don't know where we're going to start.
Okay.
So if we cut it down to a half a bag, that means I've got to open a bag and cut it in half and do all these things.
Well, now we've talked about that on Can You Brew It, but Jamil was kind of pointing out, listen, these brewers measure in sacks.
Yeah.
They're not pulling out 45 grams of anything.
No,
it's a bag of this and a bag of that, and there you go.
The smallest increment of measurement in our brewery is 3 1/3 pounds, and that's the size of a scoop.
That's your scoop.
So if I want 10 pounds, then I just grab 3 scoops.
Okay. Well, so let me ask you this. There was a time when I thought I could invent beer recipes, and I had, I tried it a little bit. So I'll come up with a recipe like this, and my Beersmith brewing software will tell me exactly what gravity I've come up with. And then I brew it, and it's high, like you guys ended up here. It's I think I'm coming in at 1050, and before I know it, I'm at 1058. Is this part of a pro brewer's learning recipe process too, or did you punch this in and know exactly where you were going to be?
I think we were pretty spot on, weren't we, Mike?
We were looking for like 1057 or something like that. We weren't that far off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a new recipe doesn't exactly mean that your efficiency changes and you end up with unpredictable numbers. It just means there are new grains that you're putting together.
Well, especially a recipe like this, this is around 5.5% alcohol, and I make a lot of beers around there, so I kind of know how the equipment's going to behave at those alcohol levels.
Okay.
If we were trying to do a 12% beer, then I'd probably have to do some efficiency recalibration.
Okay.
Because that's out of the experience of the brewery. But I did this in Pro Mash, was able to assume 78% efficiency, and we were pretty close.
Yeah, we were close.
We were closer than I expected to be.
Okay. All right. So I like the process so far. You sat down together, you tasted all these beers, and this is the recipe you come up with. Is any of this stolen directly from, say, Tasty APA or any of the other 5 beers, or did you really start from scratch?
Really, just the Pilsner thing is from. But you do that in your other beer as well, so.
I use the Caribbean in my IPA.
Right.
So that kind of got pulled out of my IPA recipe. The Maris and Pilsner idea to make the malts less nutty was something that we'd been doing. It was actually Jameel was the first person to suggest it to me in my porter. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it was ideas that have been floating around. I mean, you need to understand that these guys like Doc and Mike and Jameel were brewing great beer before I'd ever brewed a beer.
Right. Okay.
So these ideas have been floating around for a long time. One of my maybe in the first 3 months I was at More Beer, I got invited into 3 private tastings with the owners. They said, okay, this is a homebrewer's beer, and you've really got to taste them. One was the first time I met Mike McDowell. One was the first time I met Jameel. And one was the first time I met Doc.
All employees of the Brewing Network.
And they were the only 3 people that they ever said, you've got to come taste these beers.
Right, okay.
So, and this is, 12, 13 years ago now.
Yeah.
And I'd brewed, by the time I got hired at More Beer, I'd brewed 3 batches of beer.
Wow, okay. So very new when you started there.
Yeah.
Well, and here's why I asked this question about what you took from other beers. And it's a comment that you made to me when we were planning this show. A lot of homebrewers now, because there's so many great recipes out there. Let's take Brewing Classic Styles, for example, or the recipes that come out of Can You Brew It from Pro Brewers beers. There's a lot of homebrewers that are a little timid about making their own recipes. They come in and talk to you, and they say, I'm not the guy who's going to make my own. I'm just going to brew somebody else's. But you tend to encourage people to make their own recipe.
Yeah, I think once you know how to run a clean fermentation, I think you need to be making your own recipes.
But
it's so much more fun.
In this case, there's another component, and that's that you've had experience with these malts as well. Not just that you've run a clean fermentation, but you guys are able to draw upon other beers that you've brewed, whether they were your recipes or not, because you know the grain.
My first batch of beer when I walked in the door here was an IPA, and I made the recipe up off the top of my head from scratch in 15 minutes and brewed it, and that was my first batch of beer I ever brewed here.
Okay.
So at some point you just have to go, okay, I am the brewer. Let's go brew.
Okay.
And you have to do it. And are you going to learn a bunch fast? Yeah, absolutely. But you're going to learn things that you won't learn unless you start making your own recipes.
Okay.
What I've seen a lot of home brewers, the mistake they'll make is that they'll get a recipe, they'll make that beer, and then they'll just forget about what the recipe was. They'll just take the beer, put it in front of their friends or whatever, and they'll be getting feedback, but they won't be doing it in the context of what the recipe was.
Well,
so
and
they're
that's
really
really
not learning
important.
the ingredients.
Yeah, developing a recipe is not a one batch process.
No, you gotta, you never get it right the first time. You should intentionally almost, know you're not going to get it.
Yeah, and in fact, we did, and that was what I wasn't even going to undertake this project with Mike until I got him to agree to do 5 batches.
Right.
Great. Well, and I'm going to even agree with this statement on this beer. This beer is very close to being right, but it's not right. On the first one, it's not the beer that I know Colin's looking for, and since I can just interject myself here anyway, it's not the beer I'm looking for yet either. So we'll talk about that when we come back, and we're going to get to the hop profile, talk about how you chose hops in order to match this grain bill. So this is the session live from Downtown Joe's in downtown Napa. Grab yourself a beer, be good to your bartenders and the staff here, and we'll be right back with more on the brand new Pale Ale from Downtown Joe's.
There's a
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Hey, BNR
Army? You think you're badass? Well, you are. Kind of. Like badass, but without the balls to blow something up. HopTech in patriotic Dublin, California recognizes your nearly badassness with a Be an Army discount on every order. But there's something those boys and girls in the real Army should know. If you have an APO address or a scan of an active PX card, HopTech salutes you as an actual badass and offers their things with a 15% discount on every purchase. That's the HopTech way of saying thanks to all active military personnel. 15% off ingredients, kits, equipment, as well as games, books, gifts, and more, all at HopTech.com. Whichever Army you're a member of, any branch of the military, or the BN Army, HopTech in Dublin says thank you with great discounts. Call 800-DRY-HOPS. Visit the store in Dublin, California, or go to HopTech.com. HopTech, serving homebrewers for 28 years.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for every beer style. I want a Cicerone.
The Cicerone Certification Program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a Certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious. Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at Cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint. Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of our 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Our Williams Belgian Pale Extract is mashed with pure Belgian 2-row malt and a small percentage of Belgian wheat malt for an authentic Belgian character you just can't get from other extracts. Or check out our unique fermenters, 2.5-gallon kegs, paintball tank-based draft beer equipment, bottling aids, and much more. We even have our own line of precision hydrometers. Go to WilliamsBrewing.com to browse our vast selection. That's WilliamsBrewing.com. Orders placed by 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time ship the same day. Brewing is easy. The Williams way.
Since 1921, Muntons has been a provider of quality malted grain and extract.
What did he just say? What did he say?
That's 90 years of locally sourced grain for home brewers and professional brewers alike. All farmed within 50 miles of our malt houses.
What? I can't understand what this is. The last part.
Whole and crushed malts, including wheat and peated malt, liquid extract, hopped and unhopped, as well as dried malt extract. Everything from beginner home brewer kits to all the ingredients an advanced home brewer needs.
Something about trains? What language does this guy speak? He's from Austria.
Muntons is proudly serving brewers in 54 countries and honoured to be a leader in malting.
Can you understand this guy? No. That's a really weird language.
Ask for Muntons malt and malt extract at your local home brew shop.
Muntons, for brewing, distilling, and baking. Quality malted grain and extract for 90 years. Make your malt Muntons.
And now back to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
All right, welcome back to the program, and thanks for sticking around with us. We're live out here at Downtown Joe's talking to Colin Kaminsky and, of course, Mr. Tasty McDowell. He's a mister now because he has beer on tap all over the Bay Area.
I'm a real player now.
So you have to call him Mr. Tasty.
I got credibility.
When you see him.
Or Mr. T for short.
Or Mr. T, that's right.
I've already got some trademark infringements, I think, so I'll need another
Here,
one.
let me help you with your...
am I messed up here?
Even given the trademark infringement,
probably hear a little bit
I
of
think
that
your
now.
name has officially just morphed to Mr. T on occasion.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to have trouble avoiding that. All right, just before the break, we were talking about the grain bill.
How do you have 3 beers?
I'm just lucky that way. But I gave you that beer right there, JP.
I love you
I
so
took
much.
care of you. And that one is the Tasty Colin PA that you have.
Great.
We'll
I've been
call it
drinking
the
that as well.
TCPA for
Number
now.
4.
TCP?
And the TCPA is right in front of you there. So before the break, we were talking about designing the grain bill. And
actually, before we start, have we gotten some names out of the chat room yet? I want to put a plug in for. We need to name this beer, so we have a name. So if we get any good ideas, I'd love some ideas out of the chat room.
All right, so chat room, there you go. Name the TCPA because it's on tap and it's going to be on tap for a little while. It's a couple weeks at least.
Well, no,
before we
whatever
sell
name
out.
we pick, we'll just name it.
Even
permanently.
The final PA. So
Yeah.
this is a permanent name.
Yeah, we're looking for a permanent name. We've been calling our beer the Oberon Pale Ale because this building has been the Oberon building for 120 years.
Okay.
However, Bell's Brewery doesn't want me to call it Oberon Pale Ale.
I see.
For good reason. Even though my brew log shows we've been making beers with the name Oberon 2 months longer than he has.
2 months.
But the brand is really important to them, and it's not important to us at all.
So you don't care.
So we don't care. And the owner's just a great guy, a business guy, likes to drink.
Yeah.
A good guy, just a good guy. And he and I had about an hour-long chat on the phone. He's like, it probably isn't that big of a deal, but if you could stop, that'd be great.
Right. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Rather than
I mean,
a
you're not gonna sue him?
lawsuit or...
I think you should sue him.
JP wants a lawsuit.
I want it now.
No, he was really good, a really good guy, and so we want to rename it to get out of the Oberon genre.
Well, I would like to suggest JP's Pale Ale for this one. I think it'd be a really good name.
Now, I'm already going to name my son JP, and I don't want to name my Pale Ale.
Oh, yeah. Well, then Jason's Pale Ale would be great. I think
it works for me.
Jipper Pale.
I
Done.
think,
Done.
what I want to say is that asking my listeners to name the Pale Ale, it's safer asking JP to name the Pale Ale. That's how crazy these listeners could be.
Well, when we were naming the double IPA, the number one favorite, everybody's hands down favorite, was Double Penetration. But Joe wouldn't let us name the beer Double Penetration.
Joe.
So we do have some restrictions.
It's Bevo's favorite, also. Believe it or not.
But for her, it's not a drink, it's a lifestyle.
That's right. All right. So,
DVDA, baby. Woo!
So, chat room, go ahead and send us along names. You might be the person that gets to name Downtown Joe's next Pale Ale, brewed by Tasty and Colin. All right, so we talked about the grain bill, and one thing that you guys both mentioned is that in part you're designing the grain bill to go along with the hop bill.
Yes.
So let's talk about the hops and try to talk to them about them in relationship to the malt, if you will.
Well, let me start with just one preface real quick. So I keep 11 hops in inventory at all times.
Okay.
So that was my only restriction on what hops we used, is that I wanted it to be one of the some of the 11.
Do you want to tell us the 11? Do you know them
Can
all?
I remember? Chinook,
It's only
Nugget,
11.
Tettnang, Willamette, Cascade, Columbus, Simcoe, Amarillo, East Kent Goldings, Horizon, Saws.
Wow. You couldn't find one shitty hop to stick in there? Those are all great hops.
Those are all good. Like Brewer's Gold or
If I had to have 11, nice work. Okay.
So when he read the list to me, I'm going like, oh, yeah, we can work with this.
Yeah, easy, right?
Once I heard Chinook, Centennial, and Cascade.
Yeah.
So that's what we chose.
But you probably pretended that it was going to be very difficult on you to limit yourself to this. Meanwhile, thinking,
I'm not smart enough to make myself bigger than I am.
Right.
I'm much more like,
Yeah.
You do kind of expect Colin to have a few like weird esoteric.
You do.
Like some I don't know, those weird New Zealand Pacific Gym nonsense that were really popular for half a second. Yeah.
I try them, and every once in a while I'll find one that I like, but can't figure out how to use.
I've heard they're all kind of like that.
What was the Japanese hop? The
Sriracha.
Sriracha.
I did that too.
I loved it in my wheat beer. I used it in my wheat beer for a long time, and I really liked it because it was really subtle and it tasted like key limes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I liked it, but I was only using, I was basically waving it over the kettle. There was so little in there.
Sacramonial edition.
Yeah, right. What other ones have I done? George Fix talked me into one that I absolutely love, but I don't think it exists anymore.
Neither does George. God bless his soul.
Yeah, George is a sweetie.
He was.
He was. Hopefully Lori's doing well.
Not after that joke she's not.
Yeah. So anyhow, we did come up with 3 hops.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well,
all right.
I'm a big fan of Sierra Nevada Celebration Ale, so certainly I thought the Chinook Centennial Cascade regimen was really going to apply well to a pale ale.
Yeah.
So, that's what we got here.
So that's what you took, and you've had experience with all those hops, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your bittering hop?
Well, we use Chinook for that.
Okay.
Right. It's a fairly neutral bittering. I mean, some people say it doesn't come through in the finish, but I think it does. It has a citrus, sort of pineapple flavor that does make it through to the finished beer. But here it's just the initial charge, so it's relatively small. It's our smallest, probably IBU edition of the whole. Not IBU edition, but the smallest weight edition of the whole batch.
Because it's even less than the 30-minute IBU edition as well.
We're trying to backload the beer with hops.
Okay. How many total IBUs in this beer? Do you know?
About 25, I think. Right, Colin?
Yeah, that's what we're shooting for.
Right.
So that
Which is not very much with a 1059 beer.
That's what I was going to say. For the gravity, that seems very low to me.
Very low, yeah. But see, the whole intent was to keep the malt out of the way of the hops. Let it be a balanced beer.
Okay.
So we did that. That's what to me this Pilsner combination is what allows that to happen. It keeps the cloyingness that you might get from the base malt.
Yeah.
It keeps it out of the picture because it finishes so dry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, plus, and I think obviously we're going to get to the later hop additions, but the hop character of the beer adds a perception of bitterness that goes higher than 25 IBUs. So it's not harsh. It's not a mean bitterness, which is what turns me off.
And it's not a lingering bitterness.
Yeah. So in other words, it helps balance the sweet malt just because you've got a lot of green hop flavor to it. Not fresh hop green, but just danky. You know what I mean? So it kind of gets... So I'm a big fan of utilizing, and you can't get this in your brewing software, but utilizing perception of bitterness rather than just bitterness.
Right.
Because if you go up to 35, 40 IBUs, then you add the perception of bitterness on top of that, I feel like it's a 60 IBU beer before you know it.
Well, and this is something that I think it's really important for people to understand is if you chew on a hop pellet, it tastes bitter.
Yeah.
It has no IBUs at that point because it's never been boiled.
Excellent point. So there's this perception of bitterness.
So there is bitterness that's not related to isomerized alpha acids.
Okay.
Now, however, they're very fragile. So if you're aging a beer, those bitterness go away faster than the isomerized alpha acids.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So these are more like dissolved oils than they are isomerized.
Yeah, right. It's dissolved alpha acids is what it is. It's just not isomerized.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at a bottle of Planet of the Elder, Vinny will yell at you if he basically wants you to drink the beer before you have it. That's how fast you have to drink that shit.
Yeah. This beer would have that same warning.
Yeah. Hurry up. Yeah, he needs like an audio file in every bottle. Drink it right now. Do it right now.
This
what are you doing? Read it.
Yeah. I brought Pliny to the guys who brew Fuller's when I was out there a couple of weeks ago. Well, I thought,
Did you blow them back a few?
One thing to bring them, they were treating me to a nice tour. I thought, hey, I'm going to give them Pliny. They've had nice balanced beer, haven't they? I'm going to give them a Pliny.
Yeah.
They didn't try it in front of me. I think they were going to have some of it and pour the rest through their analysis machine to actually see what the real IBUs are in that beer. They talked about that. They have a lab where you literally just pour the beer in, and I don't know if it's a little ticket comes out afterward and tells you what it is. I don't know. I picture some. I'm from the 70s apparently. Right. Some little ticker tape comes out and tells you what the
reel to reel, and then smoke starts coming out of the sides.
Yeah, it makes a lot of beeping. I don't know.
It reminds me of a SpongeBob episode. Trying to get the Krabby Patty recipe.
I definitely watch too much television, I think. Anyhow, okay. So Chinook's your bittering hop. So that's your 60-minute edition. How long's your boil?
We did 75-minute boil, and we got a little bit. I didn't measure it exactly, but typically it would have been about 8.5% evaporation in 75 minutes.
Okay. But the Chinook went in at 60.
Chinook went in at 60.
Then at 30 we did Centennial.
Okay.
Right.
And how much Centennial compared to how much...
When a 10-gallon batch, we had a quarter ounce of Chinook at 60, and then we had 1.5 ounces of Centennial at 30.
you mean this is a homebrew batch you're talking
well,
about?
no, I'm just talking about.
We scaled it down so we could talk about it
Okay,
on the
that's
radio.
what I wanted to make sure.
It was 2 pounds of Centennial.
Because even my math isn't that bad. I thought, what? You threw it in Collins?
It's 2 pounds of Centennial.
Okay, all right. But no, so give us the homebrew recipe. Keep up with that. I just want to make sure.
If you have 2 sacks of Pilsner, an ounce and a half for bitter.
I just thought, man, I'm a bad brewer, but that's ridiculous.
I can give you the 10-barrel amount.
No, stick with the homebrew version. Okay.
All right,
so
an ounce and a half at 30.
Okay. All right, and what's the next edition?
Well, and then we do like a 3-minute edition of Cascade and Centennial.
Both of them?
Yeah, a 3/4 ounce apiece.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, fortunately, Colin has a hop back.
Oh, is that right?
So we did a big
Oh, we've seen your hop back. I know
nice
this
charge
hop back,
and a hop back, too. That was a lot of fun.
Okay. So there are no mash hops.
No.
There's no first wort hopping.
No.
None of that. Just your traditional additions, except now we've gone to a hop back, too.
Yeah. Part of this experiment, or our collaboration, was we wanted to keep the process constant. That is, we would just use the normal Downtown Joe's brewing process.
Yeah, that's all the normal hop timings for about 80% of the recipes.
Okay.
And we use a hop back in all of our beers but the wheat.
Okay.
So we thought, why change that? We'll just, again, when we go to make our next modification, it'll be by recipe, not by process. So we'll keep living within these same time spots for the additions.
Well, that makes sense. You have a known, starting point.
Variables, right?
The known process gives you a known flavor.
I'm not going to sit here and say, well, instead of 30 minutes, maybe we should do 25. No, forget that.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do more hops at 30 or something like that.
And I've been fighting homebrewers for years about this 30-minute edition. I think it's one of the most important places to have hops.
Oh, yeah.
And people that don't, I'm just clueless.
Now, I'm going to... Okay.
Wait a minute.
Now, this isn't going to surprise anybody that you find it odd that people don't add the 30. I have recently found it odd people that do. And I'll tell you why. And I'm no expert by any means about these things, but I've tried a couple of people's experiments recently. And they were getting a lot of bitterness out of their beer. And I looked at their recipe, and the one place that I thought I saw it coming from was this 30-minute edition. And I thought, well, why? Why 30 minutes? Why not get the majority of your bittering out of the 60? And if you need to get more IBUs, add more at the 5 or the 10. Like double up on the addition so that you get more of that hop character. In 30, it's going to volatilize, don't you think?
No, that's a whole other show. Okay, so what happens with these complicated molecules is they actually attach themselves to glucose and don't evaporate out. It's called glucanization.
Okay.
And we get these
band I had in high school.
And we get these complicated molecules that will actually survive all the way into fermentation. And then the yeast either picks them up by their glucose end and drags them into the cell, esterifies them, spits them back out, or just grabs the glucose off and releases them as the chemical. So there's all sorts of things that can go on.
Okay.
I'm not... this might surprise you, but organic chemistry isn't something that's really easy for me to understand.
It does surprise me.
And so I'm not exactly sure on exactly these pathways. But what I find is if you were to run up to a tree and break the bark off it and smell it, that's what the 30-minute edition tastes like.
Okay.
And it's the classic chemicals that I think it comes from is terpenes. And I think that's the time to get them. If you boil them for too long, then they do go away. Right. But if you don't boil them long enough, then all you get is the flowery, fruity stuff.
Okay. See, your explanation clearly has much more evidence than mine. My whole explanation was, if it's in the beer longer, there's bitter. That was my whole...
But
I
that works for Budweiser because they want a certain amount of bitterness, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so I have to use a lot more hops to get my bitterness because I want to put some at 30.
Okay.
So it's not very cost-effective for me to do that.
All right.
But I think it does add, especially when you're looking for things like grapefruit flavors, pineapple flavors, all of those heavier fruit flavors, or pine tree, or marijuana, or any of those flavors like that you find in like a Pliny the Elder. They come from those 20 to 40-minute editions.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's sort of a transition for me. I mean, I was of the mindset like you would never want to have a 30, but a 15 or a 10 and a 5 are great. But from the Can You Brew It show, because I hear lots about what the pros are doing, and yeah, a lot of them are just doing 30, a lot of 45-minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And isn't the original released Pliny the Elder recipe like mash hop, kettle hop, 60, 45, 30, 15, 10, 3, dry hop?
It was pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, whatever it was just like every place you get on hops, and every edition was totally different.
Right.
All right, so for recipe formulation, let me ask you this. Now, how do you decide where you want your IBUs to come from in the boil? So you have to decide, all right, we want X from the 60, and you punch that into your program. We want X from the 30. We want X from the 10. So since we're talking about designing a recipe, is this arbitrary? Where does this come from?
I go backwards. I decide how much flavor I want from the 30, and then I pick up my bitterness from the 60.
Okay, so you'll punch your 30 in first.
And then how much do I need in my 60 to deal with that?
That's an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, because that way I can build my flavor. So this recipe has, for me, 2 pounds and 7 barrels in the 30 edition. The old recipe that you've got in one of those glasses there was 1.5 pounds. So I wanted to bump that middle up to 2 pounds. And I don't actually even look at, because what I'm trying to extract is other oils. I'm not trying to just extract bitterness out of my 30, but also other oils. So I'm more concerned about the total weight of oils in the hops than I am the alpha acids. Because the beta acids, I think, are really important in the 30-minute edition as well.
Okay.
I have a question that may not be appropriate for right here, but if you have a recipe and you want to make a change, maybe it's more of a comment. You don't always just have to change the malt. You can get a lot of flavor profile change from changing your hop addition and your times and all that kind of stuff. Is that what you kind of went with your pale ale as well? I mean, you knew you needed to change. You wanted to break it down. Did you go here and then decide to do the hops as well?
It usually only takes me 2 or 3 iterations of a recipe before I've got the malt bill dialed in.
Okay.
But the hop bill's a lot harder.
And you still know that so you'll have a malt flavor. And then you'll still know that's good. I don't have to touch it now. I can move on to the hop.
Yeah, usually, yeah. And then the hops I'm never satisfied with. I'll tweak the hops forever.
Except this time you only tweak them for 5 batches.
From there it'll be really minor tweaks. But what's going to happen is next year Centennial's going to taste different, and I'm going to go, Centennial doesn't quite taste the same this year. Maybe I'm going to add just a touch more or a touch less.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the hop back edition. Do you calculate a bitterness in with this? How do you figure out how much hops go into the hop back?
2 pounds.
Arbitrary?
That's what collects Trub the best. And the reason why the hop back is in the process is I want a hop bed that's about a foot deep.
Okay.
Because that works the best in my hop back for collecting Trub. And I've actually been able to eliminate, since I've gone to using the hop back 100% of the time, I've taken out an oxidized Trub flavor. That was one of the off flavors that I thought the beers here always had.
So for you, it was equipment specific to decide how much of a dry hop to add. It wasn't that, we want this to be really green, so let's add more.
No, and in my IPA, where I do want more character than that 2 pounds, I do a flame out edition as well.
Okay.
But I could get it all from the hop back if my hop back was bigger.
Okay. Now, Tasty, how about you? Just pick some other recipe that you use a hop back for. How are you deciding how much goes in the hop back?
Whatever the hop back will hold.
So it's a maximum.
Yeah, to me, it's a Trub filter.
Same thing. Okay.
Like I don't get any perceivable aroma or flavor that I don't get from flame out or dry hopping.
Okay.
So it's to me, it's just 4 ounces probably isn't enough to make much flavor. So. It's just there.
So you just jam it in, and
as long as I get a good compaction in my hop back, and get a bed there that the Trub can't get through.
Great to know. Yeah. Okay, all right. So build yourself a hop back and jam it full, and then it's a Trub filter, and you're not going to add perceivable bitterness or anything else.
That you wouldn't get from a flame out or a dry hop.
Yeah, I won't use it on my wheat beer.
Okay,
my wheat beer's a little too delicate to deal with hop back.
Okay.
I've used it on lagers. It wouldn't need any hop aroma whatsoever, and they don't get any. So I just I put like Goldings in my hop back, and I get no Goldings aroma or flavors.
And did you say that there was a Flame Out edition or Whirlpool edition?
Not this beer.
No,
Not
3
in this
minutes.
beer. There was just so nothing at Whirlpool or Flame Out.
Yeah, and maybe the next segment we'll talk about how we're going to modify it.
Okay.
But as I drink the beer, I think we're good on flavor. I think we're good on hop flavor.
I think we got a really nice dry hop edition, and I think that really picks the beer up a lot. And that was one of our big concerns was how do we want a big dry hop edition? How do we build a beer that'll support that aroma and not have it be an IPA perfume bomb, not have it be sticky to your palate, have it refresh clean every time you take a sip. And so that was one of the reasons. That was one of the reasons why we talked about our malt bill so much. Because we really didn't want to have a bunch of C45 in there that was caramel 45 that was just gonna be cloyingly sweet and get stuck to the hops and just stick in your palate and be annoying.
So let me do a little comparison with you because you've put some pale ale in front of me, and what I have here is your current. I believe it's your Ace High Pale, the first one that you put down.
I don't know which or which.
I think it's.
Okay.
I think I remember that you told me this is your Ace High, and I know that beer pretty well because it's usually what I drink here. So I've got Tasty's version in front of me, and I've got the old one.
You'll know the Harvest Ale right away when you try it.
That's the middle one. That one I do know.
Okay.
So one thing I'm noticing is they're kind of two sides of the spectrum. Your current pale ale, your Ace High, has, for one, it has an English ester to it that really plays with the malt that is not in the new one. It's very estery. It's very English. I'm gonna pass this beer to you too, JP, because I want you to try this.
Okay.
But I think also it does have a sweetness that you're talking about that you're trying to reduce.
Yeah.
I think that your new batch goes too far in the other direction. I'm looking for something more in the center of these two beers, maybe even a little toward the dry one. But this one, when I drank it on its own, I thought, now this is great. It's dry and it's flavorful. Well, when I'm comparing it to the old one, it's actually lacking some flavor because it's so dry.
Huh. Now I want to try it.
It's missing something that your current one has. And part of it, I think, is the way the yeast adds esters to your current pale ale that are not so much in this beer. Same yeast?
Same yeast.
Same yeast. And the other part of it is a little bit of residual sweetness, which I understand you're trying to reduce. But do you think about this when you look at these? You want to reduce it, but maybe not too much?
Well, that's the thing. If you want to make small changes, you make small changes to the recipe. And I'd gotten, I think, as far as I could get making small changes.
Okay.
So that beer, one of the reasons why the yeast esters comes out better is there's no dry hop addition at all.
Okay.
So
a dry hop addition will cloud the ester.
Sometimes it can, yeah.
Okay.
It depends when you add them. If you add your dry hop addition before you're completed with fermentation. So let's say your airlock is just barely bubbling, and you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be done in a couple of days. If you were to rack that off the yeast onto dry hops at that moment, then you're going to pick up esters that the yeast can't create by itself. Because the yeast will esterify those aroma molecules and make brand new esters.
Interesting.
And a brewery that does lots of hop research that shan't be named, Sierra Nevada, does a lot of that in their brewing.
Okay.
They actually do publish papers about it, so it's not a secret.
JP, what did you think?
About what? No, I'm just kidding.
The hopness?
What did you think about me stabbing you underneath the table?
That felt good. It felt like I deserved it a lot. I actually think the old pale ale has a more of perceived dryness than this one does.
You're insane.
I am insane. I think. I mean, if that's the segment we're moving into is critiquing the new beer.
Actually, you don't want to share a glass.
No.
You blew a dude today?
Well, we all did, right? I mean, who didn't? Not me, but I mean, like who? Yeah, see, Sam did. Give it to him. I think the new one, personally, if you drop the honey malt, I think this would be a lot better. I think the new one is a little too sweet for me.
Yeah, see, I
want it a little drier. I want it a little bit drier. For the hops, I think it's,
What do you think, Tasty? You've had the original one, of course, and now yours. What do you think about the dryness versus sweetness factor?
Well, I think the new one,
I just ordered
the chipper pale ale,
1783. It's a different look at pale ale, so I don't know if they're that comparable. I can see where
is yours drier or not? The new one more dry than the Ace?
He doesn't have it in front of him, so let's get one in front of him.
No, let me taste it again.
I didn't blow any dubes today. You could totally taste that. It's been 24
Well, we all
hours.
made out before the show in our pre-show ritual, so it's fine anyway.
No wonder I was late.
Yeah, you always miss that, Colin. I don't know why. I tell you what time it is every show.
Oh, I got to hang with my wife. Whatever, dude. We're kissing.
The Ace is hoppier, like more bitter in the finish, which is clouding the fact that it may be as sweet or sweeter.
Okay.
But the oral perception.
Now, our collaboration beer,
yeah,
to me, is still too sweet. I like to see it drier. Yeah. Right.
Can I just say who who the best is?
No, you're right.
This guy. I'm the best.
You're the best. Okay.
Well,
at tasting?
Yeah.
That's true.
I can taste things and tell you about them.
You're a BJCP judge.
I am a BJ judge.
That's right. Are you BJCP, Colin?
No, I'm not. I keep meaning to take the test. I
think Colin would knock it out of the park, personally.
I think so, too.
I don't... What I'm afraid that there's going to be some question on there like, describe 15th century use of mugwort in brewing or
There's
something.
not.
Right.
There's not at all.
If it's all about English ales, I wouldn't have an issue with it at all. Some of the more esoteric lagers, I might have an issue with.
All right, I have identified the Harvest Ale in front of me.
Is that part of the... Excuse me.
See, I'm telling you that...
What are you saying, man?
Actually, with the exception of possibly the Harvest Ale, all of your previous pale ales have a sweetness that I would like reduced. But I think still not as much as the current one. Although, Tasty, you say you want it to go even drier.
Oh, yeah. I see myself. I always try to imagine what it's like to sit on the bar and try
it's not hard to imagine at all.
Yeah, hard to do it all the time. To drink 4 pints of a beer, and I could drink 2 of the beer as it is. Believe me, or 3. It's just that, if you want to make your session beer, it's just a little too malty.
Okay,
I agree. And I personally just say drop the honey malt. I don't think you need that much back sweetness.
I like the character that it delivers. I could certainly back everything down, which of course would be backing the honey malt down. I'll tell you what you do.
I don't know.
And Colin and I did this when we were designing the beer. He said you could take like this beer and go up to the bar and ask for seltzer water in it to make it a smaller beer.
No.
It's still carbonated, and you get an idea what it might taste like as just a smaller beer.
That's a good
Instead
idea.
of 1059, water it down to 1056 and see what you think.
I like that idea a lot.
Actually, that, and this is a tip that I keep forgetting to make sure that everybody on the Brewing Network hears. And this came back from when I was doing double IPA recipes. In double IPA recipes, the secret to them is to get everything to be clean enough that those hops really come through.
Yeah, okay.
And it's really hard to get your fermentation that clean when you're doing a 9.5% beer.
Yeah.
And I was everything I was doing, I just couldn't taste what was going on. So I started watering beers back 50% with soda water and drinking them. And then suddenly everything popped out.
Blossom.
And once you got it clean, watered down, then it tasted so good at full strength. But
Really?
you had to start going after the flavors in a watered-down beer because they were just too overwhelming.
I really like that idea.
You mean in order to adjust your recipe, you were stripping the final beer down with some soda water to pick out the flavors?
Yeah, because otherwise I couldn't figure out which flavor was which. And until you can put a name on a flavor, you can't look for it in the process.
And it is hard to do that. So here's something I just talked about with Sean Paxton with the Firestone 14. You went to the dinner.
I did. It was great.
And
Sean outdid himself.
So the Firestone 14, their 14th anniversary beer, has something like 7 different Firestone beers blended into it. And what he did was a dish using each beer. And when he did the dish using an individual beer that was blended into the 14, and then you tasted the 14 along with it, you could pick out that one beer. You could start to notice the flavors of that one beer, and that happened with each course. So it's an interesting thing that you note that when there's so much happening in a beer, it becomes very hard to focus on one flavor.
Yeah, it's beyond your sensory level to evaluate.
And you have to find a way to strip it down,
break it down
in order to get. So that was his way, was to showcase one of the beers in a dish and pair it, and then you can go, oh yeah, the citrus I get in this dish is X beer in this anniversary beer, and you're doing it by stripping it down with some soda water.
Right. It was instrumental. It made the difference between me succeeding on that recipe and me failing.
Okay, all right.
And it was something I learned from whiskey distillers. You can't taste 180 proof liquor.
Yeah.
You just can't taste it.
You got to cut it.
You cut it all the way down to 10 or 20%.
I see.
And then you start tasting it, and it just opens up the bouquets, and everything tastes different.
So interesting. And then it works with beer, too.
And I was sitting by the bar going, what is going on in this beer? Because it was just so estery, because the yeast fermentations were hard to keep orderly. And so they were just so estery. I'm like, what's going on? And I watered it down halfway and was like, oh, I know what's going on here.
Right.
There's this ester, there's that ester, there's that ester. This is how we're changing the process.
Okay.
Beer is kind of like an internment camp for yeast.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a work camp.
It is like a work camp.
Yeah.
They have no choice.
No,
but we give them, if we do it right, we give them good working conditions.
Look, yeah, we give them the proper conditions to produce the max. We give them enough food and the right amount of vitamins so they can continue working. And then when we're done, we pitch them down the drain. Who cares?
Sure. The hours are long.
Yeah.
Unless you're a brewery like mine, and then we just put them back in another fermentation.
But they're kids. Like a generation.
True. You just go to the next generation.
Right.
JP makes a good point.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
75% of your cells only have one bud scar, but 25% always have more.
I don't know what you said, but I'm in love with you.
A bud scar. You don't know what a bud scar is, JP? Come on.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
Well, I have one big one right down the center.
When yeast breaks in two, the mother cell adds a bud scar to her count. The daughter cell only has one bud scar.
Oh, so you know the...
So if you just look at the bud scars on each cell, you know how many times it's split in its life.
All right. So can you see that under a layman's microscope, or do you have to have some sort of nuclear...
I think what they do is they stain it...
Can I answer this one for you?
They stain the outside of the cell.
I see.
And then put an argon laser on it, and then take a photograph. It's like a $9,000 laser.
See, what I really would have liked to hear was... Well, I got my own glass and I ground it down perfectly. I built my own microscope.
No, I just bought Kathleen Smart's book and looked at the pictures she put in there.
She's smart.
Yeah, she is. She's a smart.
All right, why don't we do this? We're going to take another break.
Oh, good.
And we're going to come back.
Thirsty.
We're going to talk more about this recipe. We're going to talk about what we want to do is how you're going to change it and where you're going to go next.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of this process and how people need to learn to make their own recipes, too. So, quick
names,
break.
Names.
I do have names in front of me, too. I'll read them. They're not all...
Pale Ale.
They're about what I expected, Carl. I'm just going to point that out right now.
I like that.
All right.
Ale.
It's The Session, live from Downtown Joe's. We're going to get a beer and have a pee. Come back and hang out with us. It's The Session.
Pee time.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
And now, Northern Brewer brings you another installment of The Time Brewers. When last we left our heroes, they found themselves in 19th century Burton-upon-Trent.
Ah, merry England! Something is amiss, my friends. Be on guard.
These casks of white Zinfandel will stand the Queen's men in good stead in far Bangalore.
Oh, hell no! Blush wine out of Britain be worse than microwaving a kitten. Maharaja Dodgers drinking pink be vomiting predominant on the subcontinent.
Oh, dear, you can't drink blush with Vindaloo.
Oi, what should I do? Ship hogsheads of this high carbonate water?
No, sir. Please, wait. Just a moment.
Well, bless me. A parcel from the future. From one Northern Brewer.
Use this malice auteur, my good man.
EKG at a high rate per barrel make ladies wet like Colin Farrell. Now quit Burton ruining the Burton Union and get Burton brewing.
Forgettest thou not the bog myrtle?
Northern Brewer is your one-stop homebrew supplier throughout the entire Fermento Chronosphere. The widest selection of quality malt, hops, yeast, $7.99 flat rate shipping, and keep that nasty-ass bog myrtle inside your sackcloth, Brother Abelard.
My stars, but this India Pale Ale is better than wine. Thanks, Time Brewers.
Thanks, Northern Brewer.
Our work here is done, my friends. Now, to wherever we are next needed.
Tune in next time for the continuing adventures of the Time Brewers.
Tasty. Tasty. Tasty can. Tasty. Tasty can. Tasty. 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 Eco Freight can. Eco Freight. Freight. Eco Freight. Eco Freight. Hi. Freight. Sean O'Sullivan. Really changed over the years. Well. Tasty. Brewery and restaurant cans. Tasty. Cans. That's right. Tasty. Packaged. Tasty. Packaged cans. That's right. Hi, I'm Sean O'Sullivan, the brewmaster and co-founder of the 21st Amendment Brewery and Restaurant in San Francisco. Crack open a cold 21A in San Francisco. Crack 21A. Crack 21A. IPA in cans. Crack longer in San Francisco. Longer, fresher. Packaged longer. Fresher, longer. In San Francisco. Brewmaster in San Francisco. Well, that's right, cans. Tasty packaged. Cans. Local neighborhood brew pub. Hi. Well, I'm Sean O'Sullivan. Tasty crack cans. Tasty crack cans. Brewmaster and co-founder of the 21st Amendment Brewery and Restaurant in San Francisco. San Francisco. Tasty brewmaster. San Francisco. That's right, master. Well, that day is cans.
When Blickman Engineering set out to design a great brewing stand, they knew it had to be strong, adaptable, and last for a lifetime. The top-tier brewing stand is now proudly available at BlickmanEngineering.com. It grows with your brewing skills and equipment. Start with 5-gallon coolers on its heavy-gauge stainless steel shelves. Then move all the way up to 30-gallon pots on the high-output burner tiers. Speaking of burners, the custom Blickman Engineering top-tier burners are extremely powerful, efficient, and amazingly quiet. They have safety stops to center your pot, and they'll last a lifetime and won't rust. The top-tier brewing stand allows virtually infinite combinations from traditional gravity systems to 2 tiers to completely horizontal. Configure your stand the way you want and have the freedom to change it at any time in the future. Your brewing stand should adapt with you, not force you to learn a new process. Visit BlickmanEngineering.com today to configure your top-tier brewing stand and to find a local Blickman retailer. You'll be surprised with all the flexible features and the competitive price. Start brewing with Blickman from the top tier.
Hey, what are you doing, man?
Writing a review of WLP 400.
What? You're reviewing yeast?
Yeah. White Labs has home brewer reviews of all their strains. Are you new to these interwebs? Check it out.
That's awesome.
White Labs, your source for great yeast, invites all brewers to visit whitelabs.com to read and write your own reviews of all their yeast strains. Get real-world tips and tricks from other brewers who have made the most of their vials and post your own experiences. It's another way White Labs brings you closer to the best yeast on the planet.
And send. There you go.
You misspelled flocculate, dude.
What?
White Labs. It's all in the vial.
You're listening to the Brewing Network. Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck.
The world is my expression.
I talked to Doc at the break. He's out here having a good time with us, too.
He's having a real good time.
Well, I was trying to figure out if we should put him on the air, so I figured I should go have a conversation with him to make that assessment.
Yeah.
We're putting him on the air at the end of the show.
I agree.
He said, do you want me to help out with the topic? Oh, no, that's cool, Doc. We got it covered, man.
But during the meltdown, yes.
Oh, we want you back at the end.
Kim Wood is here, and she's like rubbing his weird, furry little midget body.
He keeps lifting his shirt up. He keeps getting half naked for her and throwing out his little furry body.
Yeah.
Which usually is Schumann, so I guess he's taking the place of both of them.
Somebody's got to be the naked guy.
That's right. Every episode needs a naked guy.
Hey, yeah, Schumann was doing that on the last show, wasn't he? Didn't Sarah Huskett dare him to go in there and take off his shorts or something?
I think she asked him to come in the studio and show his wiener or something like that, and he came in his boxer shorts.
Right, and she had to look close.
And for me, I live with that nudist, and I have to see him in his boxer shorts more than any human being should have to see a person in their boxer shorts.
I think we should finish the show in our boxer shorts.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, you don't want to see my boxer shorts.
Are they actually Euro style dock underwear?
They're non-existent.
Little banana hammocks? Is that what's going on?
There's something I designed.
No, they're the Emperor's new boxer shorts.
Perfect. Move that just slightly closer. All right, so here's what we're going to do.
By that meaning I can crotch.
We're going to wrap up this beer segment. We've got a little more to talk about on this pale ale. And one of the things, of course, Colin, is that you mentioned this is just the first one. You're going to go through 5 and try to narrow down a recipe.
Yeah, this is our first shot at it. I think I have a good idea of where I want to go and why I want to go there. When Mike and I get some private time to talk about it, we'll head down a path together. Obviously, JP's had some good tasting comments. You've had some good tasting comments that we'll keep in mind. I don't see this recipe changing more than 2 or 3% here or there.
Okay.
In the next 5 batches, but I think in 5 batches it'll give us a really good shot at dialing it in.
But you do want to make some tweaks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tasty, what's number 1 on your tweak list from this beer?
Well, I'd like to make the beer a smaller beer. Just get it down to like maybe under 5.5. I think we're like at 5.7 now or 5.6 or something like that.
Yeah, I think around 5.3 probably be a good place to be.
I think that's a good point for it. It's a little big for a pale ale, I'm thinking.
Even 5.
Okay.
We can do that with the seltzer water test up there. We can see what it would taste like. It's just a smaller beer by adding a little bit of seltzer water to it.
I really like that idea.
JP likes that.
I really, really like that.
To break it down and get
The only question I would have is, but you can't use like a mineral water from the store because the hardness of the water, the pH would change.
Yeah.
Maybe
it'll change it. But
just pure water and CO2.
If you just got the cheapest seltzer water you could find, they probably haven't added a bunch of minerals to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, even if you get the general idea of how it would be, I guess it's probably fine.
Yeah. It might screw with your water chemistry a little bit, your sulfate to chloride ratio, but you can always fix that again later.
But what doesn't? Am I right? I think that's a really good idea. I can't get over that.
All right.
The seltzer water. I'm trying. Okay?
No, I like
Do you ever
the
take a
idea
bath
too.
in it? It's awesome.
I'm barely holding on to knowing where I am right now. So I'm trying.
JP likes to talk to me in the bathroom for some reason. He follows me in there every time I go. That's where he finds his quiet time with me.
Well, we need it. We need that time to bond as friends.
And he admitted to having too much to drink today.
I'm having more than I normally do when I go out. Yes.
You sound fine. You were hung up on the seltzer water thing, but other than that, you sound great.
I really enjoy it. I think I sound great. I feel weird. But we're ready to go.
Well, you finally feel the way you are.
Excellent point. All right, what else besides the alcohol content, Tasty and/or Colin? What is another change, another tweak you might make on batch 2?
I really like beers that taste good cold and warm.
Okay.
And so I find when this beer warms up that there's a little bit of a malty cloyingness that I think agree with JP that it comes from the honey malt. So I think dropping the honey malt by maybe 10 or 20% from where it's at might be a good experiment to try.
A lot? You're going to drop it by a lot? Well, that's why I wanted you to taste it, JP.
That's why I did, baby.
Yeah. So we used about 20 pounds, so maybe taking 2 pounds out or 3 pounds
20%
out.
drop would be like go from 5 to 4%.
Wow.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's.
But I like the honey malt in there.
20%.
And don't worry, if it turns out it shouldn't be in there at all, it'll eventually
It'll sneak out.
It'll fall out of it. Yeah.
So let me ask you this about these tweaks, because in home brewing, especially for beginners, we have recommended to our listeners only tweak one thing at a time, or you don't know what made the difference. Are you guys beyond that? You're allowed to tweak a couple things?
Yeah, we can do
you
a
are.
few.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you might.
Who's had a few beers?
So what else might you tweak then?
Let's see. What was he thinking here? Possibly the flake barley.
Lower?
Yeah, a little bit lower. Yeah.
That's something I really want to try again in about a week. I carbonated this yesterday, so it really hasn't had a lot of time to gel together and build build some of those.
It's a bunch of components and hasn't melded together.
Yeah, so I kind of want to make sure that in a week that we taste it again and get an idea about
so
the
in a week we'll sit down and design the next recipe in earnest.
That's what I think,
Okay.
yeah. I've got at least a week before I brew in the brew
Before we need to
schedule.
brew another batch.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think the flake barley perception will be a little different in a week.
Yeah, let's see how that goes.
Just because it's just barely carbonated in time for the show.
So this beer is how many days out of the fermenter? Like in a keg?
I moved it yesterday.
So this beer is basically 2 days old? 3 days old?
Well, I crashed the temperature about a week ago. So
About a week old then?
About a week old.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it came out of the fermenter yesterday. I was trying to get it out on Friday, but a virus attacked our computers, so I ended up being computer guy for 11 hours on Friday.
Yeah, sorry about that. I was just farting around.
Yeah, the bartender's watching porn on the office computers again or something.
I hate it when that happens.
It's like working with Regan again.
I will admit I do not watch porn on my office computer. I go into I use Chad's computer.
I use my cell phone.
That's it, because it's very personal. It's just right in front of you.
Right, and you can reformat it without infecting any of the network.
Excellent point. We're not just getting recipe techniques tonight, Tasty. We're getting porn viewing techniques.
Well, the laptop...
It's all in our minds, so what the hell?
The laptop that Bevo's using is my laptop.
Oh.
So watch it there.
Yeah. You want to talk about surfing on your work computer.
Don't hit shift up
browsing history, please?
She needs to wash her hands.
I was going to say, don't shine a black light across the keyboard. For your own
It'll
sake.
look like you're at a rave.
Never shine a black light across the keyboard.
Could be ugly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, one thing, Scott, did we get any listener comments about the... Yeah, let's get them up here, because I want to know what people here think about the beer that you guys have produced here.
So another thing that we'll probably talk about next week is what we want to do fermentation character-wise.
Okay. What temperature did you ferment at, by the way?
This was a very healthy pitch of English ale, very high cell count, lots of oxygen, White Labs 002.
Okay.
So it had everything going right to be clean and not very estery. So there's the diacetyl qualities of that yeast didn't come through at all. The ester profile is very small compared to how it normally is. The fusel character is a little bit higher than it normally is. All of that I think we can tweak in fermentation parameters.
So you thinking you might lower it a little bit to get the fusel out of it?
No, I think less oxygen. I think there was too much oxygen. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I think there was too much oxygen.
All right. Otherwise, the temperature of the ferment, you leave it the same.
Yeah, I think so. I find if I get it around 65, sometimes it doesn't mop up diacetyl. But we might also talk about switching to California.
Well, we certainly could, but this is really neutral. I'm not getting any yeast or English flavors whatsoever.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I mean, to me, if the best yeast to use in your brewery is the 002, I think we should stay with it.
Well, we have both at any given moment. So.
Well, then maybe we should try the next beer with 001. Unless we're making other major changes. Well, so far we haven't talked about too much.
Right. Well, I think if you change the yeast, then maybe you don't have to adjust the honey or anything like that, because I think it'll finish out a little
because
drier.
Because of my dryer.
Anyway. Yeah. So, yeah, try that. But you still may find you don't even need the honey malt. I don't know.
You know, it builds a body. I wanted a malt, because I use so much Vienna, light Munich, and dark Munich, to get more light grain characters in my beers. I was really excited to try something new, a light malt that wasn't the ones I normally use, because I thought it would break me out of a certain mold that my beers get locked into. So I kind of like the honey for that reason alone.
All right, you want to get some listener opinions about the beer? All right, JP, you're gonna have to do me a favor and remove your headset. Give it to Moscow. And we've got Cameron here. You know, we got a whole room full of people. It's been a great turnout tonight. I love it when the listeners come out and join us here. And they've all been trying Tasty's beer tonight. We've got Cameron on the line now. Now, Cameron, believe it or not, is a guy who you brought us his sour beer just a couple weeks ago on the program.
It is,
and he gave me another taste of his sour beer tonight. And the man's making some awesome sour homebrew, Cameron. You're just doing a great job of it. So we thought we'd have you give us your opinion on this first batch of pale ale that Colin and Tasty brewed. What are your thoughts on the beer?
Well, first off, if I had a chance to have this beer on top of my house, I'd be pretty happy.
It's a nice beer.
It's a really nice beer. I like session beers, and this one's really drinkable. My first judge is normally my wife. This beer would go real well with her. It's real tasty, real drinkable.
Yeah.
Has a nice dry finish, and those are normally the first things I look at a beer. I'm familiar with Colin's beers. I like the malt bill. I like the Maris Otter. I like the yeast that he uses. If I was to tweak it for my own personal use, not general consumption, not serving at the bar, I'd probably put a little bit more hop flavor at the end.
Okay.
Just a little bit. I'm a fan of the big funky hops like Simcoe, Columbus, Citra, Amarillo. I'd probably just finish it with just a little bit more of that. But aside from that, I wouldn't do anything different.
Really? So you like the gravity's okay, the alcohol content's okay, you just want a little more hop character?
Well, first off, I don't notice the alcohol content.
It's about 5.5, you guys said.
About 5.7.
5.7. Okay.
I don't notice any hotness. It seems real nice and real drinkable. So that's all a plus for me.
Okay. So you're just looking for a little more hop character?
That would be the only criticism I would have, and that's not a lot.
Okay. What do you guys think about it? Tasty, is that on your list? Are you looking for some more?
Well, my goal is to make the beer mostly about the malt, that it be a really drinkable beer. Don't want to infringe on IPAs. I want to make sure this is still a pale ale. So
I wonder
I'll change the mix-up of hops. I like the IBUs about where they're at.
Certainly the IBUs. I think if there was an addition that we would tweak in that direction, it'd be the 3-minute hop addition. Might get tweaked in that direction. But I don't know if we're settled into our malt bill well enough to fine-tune that 3-minute addition yet.
Okay. Well, and I wonder if when you get down to about 5.5, like you're looking for, or a little below, and you dry it out like you want to, you might end up having a lot more of the hop character.
The hop will seem more prevalent
there anyway.
Right.
Okay. Thanks, Cameron. I appreciate your input on the beer. We've got some more input on the beer. Dave's going to tell us what he thinks. And, whenever we do these shows here at Downtown Joe's, we encourage you to come out because not only is Colin sharing his beer with us, and of course we have Tasties on, but on the down low, there's kind of a bunch of homebrew being poured around, too. And I'm pretty sure that it's not actually being poured, but it's virtually being poured. A lot of people come out and share their stuff with us, and it's a really nice thing to see that goes on down here that you really miss out if you can't make it. So if you're ever even remotely in our area when we come out to Downtown Joe's, come join us. All right, Dave has had the pale ale a couple times tonight, I'm sure. Give us your thoughts on the beer.
I thought it was very nice beer. At first I was telling Scott that I thought it was kind of maybe lacking slight bit of malt, but then I'm kind of second thoughting myself.
Okay.
I think it's exactly kind of what I like in a beer, in this type of a beer. It's obviously a lighter, more of a session beer. And I noticed that at first you get this like nice mouthfeel, but it falls off pretty quickly, and it dries out quite a bit at the end, and it goes away real quick. And definitely it's the one that I could sit at a bar and drink like 2 or 3 beers easily. And that's the type of beer that I like. It's the ones that the lighter beers, lighter alcohol, you can obviously tell. Still plenty of flavor, but you can drink, you can drink plenty of them.
Now, I have to agree with Dave on that. The drinkability of this beer is you've already done very well. So now that you guys want to drop it down even further. I mean, I must have, I'm going to be honest, I'm probably on my 6th pint tonight. It's so drinkable, and it has that English ale quality in that case, which is something you're looking for, Colin. It is super drinkable, like Dave says. You can put it down.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't crowd your palate with too much nonsense, too much flavor, too much sweet, too much hop. It's very palatable.
There's nothing that really lingers. You get a little bit of bitterness lingering, but you don't get you get the, like I said, the mouthfeel and a lot of flavor at first, but it goes away pretty quickly. So that I think it creates a way that you can drink a lot more.
Is there something you'd like to see changed, Dave? Because they're going to do a few more.
At first, I was thinking, like I said, I was telling Scott that maybe a little bit more malt in there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking probably not.
Okay.
I actually like it a lot, very much the way it is.
Okay, so you don't have anything you want to switch on the recipe. You keep it right there.
No, I would love to brew a beer like this.
Okay,
absolutely.
All right. Well, we almost gave out the recipe tonight too.
We
practically,
and we will.
We'll reiterate at the end.
And when we're done, it'll be a public recipe.
Okay. All right, Dave. Thanks very much. I appreciate your input. Okay. Yes, I would like one more opinion on the beer if anyone's out there. What happened to Kim? Because Kim was going to come give us her idea. She bailed out on you. Tell her to get our... Kim, get your ass over here.
Kim.
Come here. No, you don't get to... Come on. Come on. Talk to us about this beer, Kim. You're a great brewer, and maybe she hasn't had any. Maybe she's a DD tonight. And that's why she doesn't want to talk about it. Like Kim's ever DD.
You know, I was thinking about his comments. He was saying how it finished really clean, and I noticed in the finish the character that comes out the most for me is the tannins from the dry hop. And this most of this dry hopping happened at 68. I think maybe next time I'll cool it down just a little bit and dry hop it at 55. Try to not extract so many tannins.
I never...
So that is basically the premise of the cooler, the dry hop?
That's been my experience. I haven't read that anywhere.
There's no science. Okay.
Yeah, that's just my
experience. That's your own experience? Cool.
Yeah.
I never would have picked that out on my own, Colin, I'll be honest with you. But now that you mention it, it's one of those flavors that you put in someone's head, and I think you're right. I think there is a tannic character to it.
Yeah, and that's all dry hop related.
Okay. Well, that's interesting for people to know, too. Can you taste that when you water it down with soda water? JP wants to know.
No, that'll actually diminish the same.
It will. Okay.
Yeah, it's the molecules that are only detectable in like parts per billion that just start to pop out when you put soda water in.
Okay.
Yeah, like trying to go after diacetyl isn't very helpful, but trying to go after acetaldehyde, it helps a lot.
All right. Now we have our lovely Kim Wood here. What are you trying to do to my producer? You line up to talk to us about the beer, and then you bail out on the poor bastard. You know he's the one who's going to have to pay for it. I'm going to yell at him. He's going to get nipple twisted, and nobody's happy. So come on, talk to us about this pale ale, Kim Wood. What do you think?
I told him.
We don't want him to tell us what you think.
What'd you tell him?
No, it's very floral.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
There's a couple of flavors that I don't really...
Tell us what they are.
Yeah, talk to us about... That's what we want to know, because they're doing 5 more of these to try to get it right. So, believe it or not, Kim happens to make a good beer or two. And she has a pretty decent... She has a pretty decent palate, and so we're actually looking for some criticism about this
we
recipe.
want your honest criticism.
Everyone else has been blowing them.
Kim was very afraid to offend the brewing parties.
No. Colin is the least offendable brewer I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, no, I would much rather get the negative side of the comments than the positive side. So.
You're more likely to offend Tasty, but he's probably too high to care.
Can't offend me.
Let's face it.
But I don't know. I don't have a really good descriptive vocabulary. So
that's okay.
I didn't know if it was a little bit of diacetyl. I don't know. If
this yeast does throw diacetyl, so this is pretty common.
Okay.
And it's below my threshold of detection.
Okay.
But do you taste it?
I thought there's something in there. Push keeps shoving something in my mouth.
Leave it there. Please put it back there.
That's why it's called Push.
We're not just effing with you. He's my audio guy. Push, put it back there, please. Oh, she has to drink. She can drink first.
Oh, that's what I keep moving it away.
When you're done drinking, move the mic back to your mouth so we can hear. There we go. And so we can watch.
It's very floral. I don't know. There's something almost very earthy about it. And so, I don't know.
So would you change that? Is that something you're looking to reduce?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't seem as clean as it could be. I mean, I know this beer isn't supposed to be a super clean beer, but I don't know. There's just something interesting. There's like a flavor that I can't really put my my finger on.
I think it has a muddy, earthy, floral quality that could be cleaned up. I think that's maybe one of the things I picked up in the beginning about the beer, that it could be a little cleaner in terms of, it's not a fermentation problem, that's not what I mean, but there is a lot of floral quality to it, and I agree that it's slightly earthy. I think maybe it could be a little more focused rather than a mound. You see what I mean?
Right.
There's a little bit of a mound of flavor
crisp
instead
and not
of
muddled.
Yeah, I think it could be more crisp, and I wonder if that will also come with the dryness that you're looking for.
Or at least waiting a week is going to make the beer
It'll come together a little, but yeah, the earthy quality, my experience is when you start to get into the earthy character, that doesn't improve over time.
It does not. Okay.
Yeah.
And what does that come from?
That's a good question.
We don't know, do we?
Not yet. I need more
Is it
flavor
the honey?
descriptors from her.
Well, maybe it is the honey malt. That's been an ongoing criticism of the beer, is maybe the amount of honey malt that could be there. Wow, you're a bitch. I can't believe you said that to Colin. I mean, they've worked so hard on this beer, and you just come sit here and tell them how bad it is?
Fuck you.
No, this
you
is
have to
what
see
they're
how
looking
big
for.
Kim's smiling when she says that to Justin.
I can't believe it. I mean, we give you a microphone, and what do you do?
No.
Yeah, and Scott
Hey, don't be a
dragged
dick.
me up here by my arm.
Hey, so Kim, no, I want to get more flavor descriptors from you. Okay, so let's work on that. So you say earthy. When you say earthy, is it more mushroomy or is it more dirt?
Mushroomy?
I think mushroomy, too.
Yeah, that would probably be
Fungy.
yeast derived. That would be yeast derived.
And then the bitterness, it's really firm bitterness, but it just like lingers for a long time, kind of like that postage stamp. JP, fucking put your hands in your lap. Stop it. Shut up.
Now, the lingering bitterness, I don't get. That's not something. It doesn't mean it's not there. I don't pick that up.
I do get
pick
lingering
up the
tannins.
You do?
Yeah, lingering tannins.
Well, the tannin
Not-
part.
Yeah, but
okay.
not lingering bitterness.
But I definitely agree with the more of a fungi type of earth rather than a dirt type of earth. I'm glad you brought. So you say the fungi one is a hop. The mushroomy one is hop derived. Is that what you said?
No, the mushroom one's usually yeast derived.
Yeast derived.
Yeah.
What would an earthy one be?
The earthy ones usually come from skunky hops. It sort of crosses into that skunky, caddy flavor from hops.
Yeah, all right.
And since we didn't have any Simcoe or Amarillo or Summit, I didn't figure that was the one she was picking up.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure. No, it sounds probably like we had a lot of cell growth in this fermentation.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll get some of those characters when you have huge cell growths.
I see.
You know, that's what we were talking about earlier with lots of oxygen.
So will you will alter your fermentation profile as well?
What I'd probably do is just cut down some of the oxygen.
Okay. All right.
And then see if it gets better. Yeah. Thank you, Kim. That's very helpful.
Thank you, Kim Wood. You can go back to whatever you were doing.
Okay.
Go back to getting shots of absinthe.
We appreciate your All right. The lovely Kim Wood out here with Andy Wood and the Deneen's, who we love to see out here. The Deneen's brought their party baby. And party baby is always a good time. Kid just runs around and parties. It's pretty amazing. Gotta love party baby.
You gotta love party baby.
All right. Anything else about recipe changes for the next time around, or have we covered what you're going to do when you get your ass back in here, Tasty?
A question I had that we didn't talk about yet. This is a really high sulfate to chloride ratio.
Oh, yeah?
It was about 9-1. Normally I shoot for about 5-1. But I don't find it distracting. I
don't think water's an issue with this beer at all.
I don't think so either. I think the water came out fine.
I'm going to throw Push Eject under the bus here for a second, since you mentioned that. When we first tried the beer, him and I had two comments. I since don't taste it, but that's probably because I'm 5 of them into it or so. But he thought that the beer tasted a little chalky, and I thought that it tasted a little soapy. Maybe we were perceiving the same element just in two different ways. So when he said chalky and I said soapy, I was thinking about water and sulfates and things like that.
Soapy to me is something that ages out, and I think it's probably more trube related than anything.
Okay.
I think soapy quality comes from oxidized trube. It's one of the reasons why we use the hop back here.
Okay.
Is to try to minimize that character as much as possible.
All right. What about chalky?
Chalky, that's interesting. We did leave a lot of residual alkalinity in the beer. And on purpose. And we balanced it with lots of sulfates, but almost no chlorides. So we'll have to decide about that. That's a good tasting note that when it's not so busy in here, I'll have to review again.
Well, but, I mean,
And I will
Tasty's
review
very
that
good at
quickly.
evaluating water and hop utilization and things like that. You think the water's just fine, Tasty?
Yeah, I can taste the water in the beer, and I think it seems good.
Okay.
Now, Colin, something you mentioned to me is you could add chlorides after the fact.
Yeah, we can.
So we could do that in this beer.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
And
just see if that would help. Or
We'll
hurt
spike it. Yeah, we can spike it and see where we get. Yeah, because if we just take some calcium chloride and dissolve it in hot water, and then drop a couple milliliters in, we can start spiking it up.
Right. Yeah, that's a key point. A lot of people don't know that they can add minerals after the beer's already been made.
Yeah, to get sulfite to chloride ratio right, you can always add minerals.
Okay. Well, that's interesting to know. Yeah.
I think, personally, if you take the flaked barley down to like 15% and get rid of the honey, that's it right there. That's me. That's my final tasting.
Right.
It's your final tasting note.
Get rid of the
Get
honey.
rid of it, not reduce it. Get rid of it. Okay.
Get rid of it.
All right.
But that's me, and I may not,
Well, Colin,
we could do that.
Oddly enough, Colin likes you. So
Colin just doesn't know better.
I think I've known JP longer than anybody in this room. Actually.
You're probably right. Yeah,
I think I do.
And you still like him.
And I still like him. I used to give him a lot of shit, and then I realized that he was a bass player. And bass
That
players
changed everything.
they get the short end of the band the whole time.
That's true.
And so I figure he deserves some sympathy now.
Sure. Poor JP's actually gotten the short end of life for the most part.
Well, I did. Well, I drew this kind of chart. I tried to draw a chart, but it ended up just being a character of Kim Wood surfing on a giant cock.
Oh, and is that's how you perceive this beer going?
Well, it's very similar. Yeah. Actually,
that's your.
I wanted to draw like a thing, and I just ended up drawing a big wiener with Kim surfing
Yeah, if you
on
put
it.
an XY axis on that, it would
She's
make
like
more sense.
longboarding.
Yeah.
I'll give it to her later.
Wow. JP's
It's a souvenir, really.
JP's girlfriend's dad is here watching his mind work. Does anybody ever wonder about how that goes over? I do. I often wonder about
He
that.
and I email. We draw cocks and then we scan it to each other. We fax each other these wiener drawings.
So you have a close relationship with your girlfriend's dad?
Well, we kind of do. We don't want to brag about it, but we're
But we're close.
We're friends.
I'm just actually stunned that JP has a girlfriend, though.
Well, I try to gloss over that fact because don't put the guy on the spot. Look at him; he's a handsome man.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You tried to gloss over it by bringing it up? Is that how you tried to gloss over it? You dick.
All right, you want some
Like
beer names?
focusing on it.
Yeah, beer names.
All right, the chat room has given you some pale ale names
There we go. Let's see what
tonight.
they
Mrs. Push is in the chat room tonight.
Yay, go Mrs. Push.
Yeah. Probably wondering what the fuck Mr. Push is still doing in Northern California. But she's hanging out with us, a lovely woman that she is, and she has put in Earth, Wind, and Pale. That's her name. Earth, Wind, and Pale is on the table.
It's a good thing she's pretty.
Which, I'm going to tell you right now, it's a lot more clever than most of the names I have in front of me.
Of course it is.
Mrs. Push is a friend. Oh, friend of mine, Pale.
I like
friend
that.
of mine, Pale Ale.
I like that. That's good.
That's a pretty goddamn good name, I got to say right now. All right, put that in your notes there,
Is it
Colin.
really,
Friend
though?
of mine. Okay, Crotch Rot in the chat room is wrote in. Now, this one has a spelling thing to it, but it's McDola Palooza, but the uppa is APA, McDola Palooza, and then when you put it on your fancy board there, it would say APA. So that's his. Let's see. What else do I have here in front of me?
How about that? Just
Napa's Pale Ale. Napa's. Downtown Napa's. Which I don't know if you've ever heard the ad, but that's an old JP joke.
Yeah.
It's not Napa. It's Downtown Napa's. So Napa's. I like that one, actually.
I would enjoy me pint.
A lot
you know
of
what people from Napa are called, right?
No. Oh, you told me once. I forget. What are they?
Napkins.
Napkin Pale Ale. Okay. Downtown Tasty Pale Ale. Kind of plain. Fit in everything you could into one thing. BN Pale. That's one that came through. Justin Crosley is bisexual pale ale. I don't like that. That's not a good name. What are you clapping about? It's a stupid name. Shut up, Bevo.
Well, it's a stupid way to live your life, too, so whatever.
56 Minutes Pale Ale. I'm not sure the 56-minute reference. Bevo?
Remember when Blopper had sex for 56 minutes straight?
Okay. Another very inside name that will...
yeah, that included foreplay, though.
Motorin Ale. You know, clearly from the song Motorin.
Then you can make a song, What's Your Price for a Pint?
Well, Blobberglop gave a lot of names, and most of them were stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Tasty McPale Ale.
McPale?
Let's go straight for it.
You get sued by McDonald's. If
McDonald's going to take that away.
Bevo's.
Tasty McDole's Pale. We got
Bevo's
in the audience.
Pale.
But it's Collins, too. Bevo, use your mic. Oh, wait.
The Tasty's not available.
Testicular Pale Ale. Came through. I don't know what that has to do. That's about it. Colin, I warned you. Didn't I warn you not to ask my listeners for names?
There was JP's Pale Ale. I feel that was a good one. JP is awesome.
I don't feel like... I actually think that Mike, who's here in the room, gave the best name so far tonight, which was a friend of mine. Friend of mine Pale Ale. I'd like. Can I have a friend of mine?
It's very Grateful Dead-y, and I don't like it because it makes me think of saving the world.
There's JP's favorite band is the Rolling Stones. I don't know if you guys know that. And we can do Waiting on a Friend Pale Ale.
Oh, that one's pretty good too.
I'm just waiting on a friend.
Waiting on a friend, yeah.
I'll have a Waiting on the Friend. I like that.
Tasty's Cousin Pale is just coming through right now.
You know, one of our Pilsner is What She's Having Pilsner.
There's some cousin in that Janice Brown, by the way.
Yeah. Is that what's in the Janice Brown? Some cousin? Is that why? That's why I like it so much?
A cookie might have fell in the.
That one cookie.
There's a rumor, but we're denying it.
Does the rumor say that it fell into the boil or
mash kettle, the mash tub?
It fell into the mash tub.
Yeah, by accident.
Brewing athletes.
What was that, Scott?
Brewing athletes.
Brewing athletes pale ale. I don't like that one either. None of these names. I got to tell you,
these are awful.
BN Army, you're about as creative as Bevo over there. Who, let's face it, she hasn't created anything except for a successful marriage with a retard.
Which can I say is pretty talented.
No, you're right. That's an accomplishment.
Sam, sit down. You're retarded. You know it.
Sit back.
The guy knows how to lay lumber, I think is what it is.
I got to point out that Sam, in fact, everyone, you ought to give him a high five, is really happy about the Giants winning the World Series.
Yeah, Sam.
Yeah. Give him a hug. Give him a hug. I mean, he's so happy about that victory that he doesn't know what to do with himself.
Let's go,
Way to lead that cheer, Sam. I can't believe that. Good job, buddy. I'm glad you're coming around for your home team.
Oh, wait a minute.
All right. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take ourselves one more quick break. When we come back, we got a couple of things to talk about. Colin and I are going to talk about free labor because we both use it. And I
am it, so I can
it's
help
worked out very well for us. And Colin actually has some very nice things to say about people who come in and have some input on things and brew different beers and kind of change the way a company looks at itself and runs itself and grows.
Can I just say, look at
we're going to get Dr. Scott on the air.
He just looks...
It would be an understatement if I said he's having a good time tonight. All right. Hang in there. It's The Session live from Downtown Joe's. We'll be right back with our final segment where we'll be looking for a drunk of the week. It's a toss-up between Dr. Scott and Dr. Scott. And we'll be right back. It's The Session. Hang in there.
You're listening to the Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Hey, Push, the new brewery's looking good.
Thanks, Finn. Piece by piece.
Well, let's fire her up. Whoa! Is that a new kettle?
Yeah, just got it brand new, but paid half price.
What? And that blade scale?
40% off.
The new tap handle?
$5 instead of 13. Got a new regulator for the brew stand, too, but $5 instead of 25.
Dude, where are you stealing all this stuff from?
Where else? The More Beer deal of the day.
Announcing the Beer, and More Beer deal of the day. Every day, a new fantastic deal from big items to small that will blow you away. Boil kettles, carboy carriers, sterile siphon starters, digital timers. Watch morebeer.com every day for a new deal, and you just might find the item you've been waiting for at a price you cannot believe. Hurry, because stock is limited on most items.
And that sweet Guinness cap, let me guess. The More Beer deal of the day. Yeah, I knew it. Come on, let's brew something. Find the More Beer deal of the day at morebeer.com. Celebrity voices impersonated.
Brewers Publications is proud to announce their newest release, Yeast, the practical guide to beer fermentation by Chris White and Jamil Zainasheff. The Practical Guide to Beer Fermentation is a resource for brewers of all experience levels. Chris and Jamil thoroughly cover yeast selection, storage, handling yeast, and how to culture yeast. Learn how to set up your own yeast lab, the basics of fermentation science and how it affects your beer, plus step-by-step procedures, equipment lists, and a comprehensive troubleshooting guide. Professionals and homebrewers trust Dr. Chris White, who founded White Labs Yeast more than 15 years ago. And Jamil Zainasheff is one of the most respected and most awarded homebrewers in history and co-author of Brewing Classic Styles with John Palmer. Visit Brewers Publications on Facebook for more information. Order your copy at shop.beertown.org or from the Brewing Network. Yeast, the practical guide to beer fermentation by two of the most trusted names in commercial and home brewing. Proudly available soon from Brewers Publications.
Hi, this is Push from the Brewing Network, and I want to tell you about the Brewmaster's Warehouse and how you can get 10% off your next order. I'm a pretty techie guy, but I've never seen an online store like this. It's awesome. Go to brewmasterswarehouse.com and click on Brew Builder. You can whip up a custom recipe so easily even Sven could do it. Seriously, it's slick. You can share your recipe with your own logo and notes to the Brewmaster's database if you want, and the best part, it keeps a running tally of the beer you're building while you're doing it. Then, bam, click Buy Recipe, and your cart is filled and ready to go with helpful suggestions in case you forgot something. This thing is amazing. Brewmaster's Warehouse is run the way a home brewer would do it, with great service, fast turnaround, and $6.99 flat rate shipping. Brewmaster's Warehouse and the Brew Builder blew me away. Check it out today at brewmasterswarehouse.com. I'm serious. And don't forget to put BNARMY in the discount code box for 10% off your order. Check out brewmasterswarehouse.com. Cheers.
Do you support the Brewing Network? Do you brew your own? Are you looking for an economical, fun, and legal way to do both? Subscribe to Brew Your Own magazine and do just that. All year long, Brew Your Own will surprise you, entertain you, and educate you with articles on beer and brewing from authors like the Brewing Network's very own Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. Each issue is a full pint of brewing techniques, homebrew stories, tips and photos, projects to make yourself, and recipes for the avid home brewer. Get your tough questions answered by Mr. Wizard and polish your style accuracy with Jamil. A portion of every subscription goes to the Brewing Network, so subscribe today at byo.com/Brewing Network, or just click the BYO logo on the Brewing Network homepage and support a fantastic hobby and your favorite broadcaster. Brew Your Own, the how-to homebrew beer magazine.
BN Army members, are you looking for a discount on hops? Keep listening. Nico's Homebrew Supply at nicobrew.com has hops by the ounce and by the pound. Choose from varieties like Amarillo, Centennial, East Kent Goldings, Hallertauer, Simcoe, Summit, Tomahawk, Warrior, Willamette, and more. And adding new varieties all the time, many for less than $20 a pound. Whether a couple ounces at a time or an 11-pound bag, all hops are shipped vacuum sealed and frozen straight to you. Nico's Homebrew Supply offers store-wide $5 flat rate shipping and won't waste your money on unnecessary overhead or advertising. They're going bare bones and passing the savings on to you. The staff at Nico's Homebrew Supply loves to brew and is committed to keeping homebrewing affordable and accessible to anyone who wants to join in this great hobby. And for a limited time, use coupon code BNARMY at checkout for a Brewing Network discount. Visit nicobrew.com. That's NIKO brew.com for your hops and more. nicobrew.com. your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
Keeping the ass out of Brewcast. This is the Brewing Network.
Thanks for sticking around. We're wrapping things up out here at Downtown Joe's. We got a lot of people hanging out with us, having a good time. There's some beer flowing, not the least of which are the brand new Pale Ale from Tasty and Colin. Also, the Russian River Janet's Brown, brewed by Tasty. Tasty worked hard tonight, so he's out wandering around enjoying beer with his friends and fans and BN listeners. He's now hobnobbing.
With his network?
Which is pretty much what Doc's been doing for most of the day. Doc, tell us about your day. What have you been up to?
Oh, my God. Well, the first part of the day was I thought I would get an early start today.
Yeah.
And it's Napa.
Sure.
It's wine country.
Napa's.
And one of my patients said that, hey, you're going to be up there, so...
So your patient said, hey, listen, you've gotten me high a couple times. How about I take you out for some wine?
Exactly. My brother is a vintner up there.
Oh.
And
your brother is Big Tim and Vince?
The patient's brother. I'm going to translate. Don't worry.
You're speaking Doc.
Yeah.
Okay.
Patient's brother.
Okay. And
so took you to a winery.
So I dragged Simon up here with me.
Simon's our good friend he's our Burning Man friend, which makes him a good friend.
English.
It's very English.
Yes. And we show up at his doorstep, and I emailed him. I talked to him, everything, and the doorbell rings, and he says, "So what can I do for you?"
He had no idea you were coming.
Oh, he did, but it's like very dry.
I see.
And
you said, "Give us wine."
And first thing I thought was, "Oh shit!" And give us wine, and let me get some shoes.
So he wasn't even dressed yet for you.
No, and he took 10, 15 minutes to get some shoes. So me and Simon are on the front porch, standing.
Waiting.
And then we walked up and we went to the winery. We got some wine, and then he said, "Oh, let's go out to the vineyard." And I'm freezing my ass off at the vineyard, but he opened up. It was good. And this dude is a dentist too.
Oh, I see.
Oh, so Simon opens him up pretty good.
Yeah, Englishmen do that well.
And,
I don't know what it is.
We had a great time.
Okay. And you were there all day before here?
Yeah, we were about 1 o'clock till about 5.
Because you didn't show up here till about 5:30.
I know. Well, the problem was about 4:30. I said, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And we go back up to the house, and he goes, "Oh, I have some Chardonnay that's cold." And so we
can't say no.
No.
Right.
We started drinking that, and then I brought him at least 4 of my beers.
Okay.
And he had that look on his face like, I don't know about beer.
I see. Did he enjoy them?
He said, I don't know about beer. And I jumped right on that.
All right.
And
so you ended up talking his ear off about beer for 2 hours.
Exactly. It's a beer. And we're at this big oak table. This should not be in somebody's house.
Okay. Was it like a redwood tree?
Yes, it was like a redwood. And Simon says, if I lived in a house, this should be this much glass. And we're looking on the whole Napa Valley down here.
Yeah.
And
so you had a good time.
Awesome time. And he got me talking about beer.
Okay.
And he was truly interested. He had no concept about how beer is beer.
I see. So you had to teach him everything in 2 hours.
Yes. All
right.
And he's handing me wine. And I'm the beers I gave him and everything else.
Do you think he actually gave a shit about beer?
Yes, he really, really did.
Okay. All right.
He really and he knows about Downtown Joe's.
Oh, good. Okay.
And I feel like we're now.
And now you have a friend.
I feel like we have to get Kim Wood up here to coach him through
Kim Wood, please Please come take Doc away. He needs to go have fun. He needs his belly rubbed.
Yeah. Helmet Doc back up and get him out of here.
All right,
Can we use that as a sound clip from now on?
I like this place.
All right, we have one more serious thing to cover, Doc. Stick with us.
I'm good.
Colin wanted to talk about free labor.
I have one question.
I need a beer, though.
It's near and dear to my heart. What's your question?
There's beers in front of me, and they're not mine.
You can have them.
Can I drink them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good.
That's Janet's Brown.
Yeah.
Which one?
That one.
The brown.
Awesome. I like that.
I don't know what the other two were.
There's some sort of pale ale. You'll figure it out.
I have to say tonight, I have not had a bad beer from anybody that served me one.
That's true. Everyone's serving some good beer tonight, homebrewers included.
The homebrewers really stepped up tonight.
Yeah.
They did not serve Doc a bad beer.
Hey, I like that. In fact, this beer right here was a Doc-inspired beer that was poured to me by Mike, one of the homebrewers here today. And he took Jamil's hazelnut porter, I think, chocolate hazelnut porter.
And spiked it with Special K.
But he dropped out the hazel, which I gotta say is working. It's pretty good. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
He dropped out the hazelnut and put in your coconut, so it was kind of Doc-inspired, and it came out really nice.
Well, we had a big problem with that after the last one here. He said, I need your recipe.
Oh, okay. Your coconut porter recipe.
Yes, and I tried to. Right when I switched over computers, I couldn't get my Pro Mash over to the next one.
I see.
And I really tried to get it over, and I ended up buying another Pro Mash
program,
the whole thing.
I see.
And
so you were missing a bunch of your recipes.
All of a sudden, they had locks on everything, and it would not let me share them with anybody. I couldn't print it. I couldn't do anything.
I'll tell you what you ought to do. You ought to move over to Beersmith. You can go to beersmith.com. You can get a 21-day free trial of the software.
You know what's good about you is
you know why
you're probably a good merger onto the freeway too, aren't you?
I just move right in.
Do you know why I never did that before? Because I had the Beersmith beforehand.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
But you couldn't move your
recipe. I had
recipe.
so much in Pro Mash.
Right. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to switch.
And we had our listeners that I can do that for you.
Ah, okay.
I don't mind that I paid again for the Pro Mash.
Yeah.
I care about my recipes.
Okay.
And whether I can share them with everybody.
So, speaking of that, so is Pro Mash a no longer supported product? Is that?
It's there. I think it's a secondhand thing.
What do you mean, of the BN?
No, just in general. I don't hear anything about Pro Mash. Everybody's talking
because
about
it's all about Beersmith.
Is there technical support for Pro Mash? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, as it being updated.
I don't know the official answer for that. The unofficial answer, in my experience, and from what my listeners tell me, it is no longer supported, and it is very difficult
tell me
to.
Just what that fucking little golden lock is on my recipes, I'd be happy.
I don't know about that.
It's a virtual chastity belt.
As long as I've been brewing.
Well, that's why I recommend beersmith.com because it is
Did you know about
supported.
Beersmith, Colin?
You can get all the answers you need.
If it's for...
you can even send an email, and you know what happens? You get an email back. It's amazing.
I've never tried the email program.
If it's for home brewers and it's easier interface, it should be.
Yeah, that's right.
But
thank you, Tom.
My thing always is you should be computerized.
Yes.
It's down. You can issue it and you
share it.
Share it.
I agree.
And I can't share it right now, and it's really pissing me off.
I'd like to issue it, though. Tell you that much right fucking now.
I love issuing.
I'll issue that thing.
All right. We have to cover one more serious topic before we carry on and end the show. Yeah, hang out.
You know what else is good? It's paper.
But
the paper that I was having with my friends' faces wasn't... I don't even know from that.
I agree with you.
Chicken soup.
I agree with that. Absolutely.
That's almost a Bill Cosby impression I got. I got to work on that a little bit more. And then we were having the Jell-O pudding in the faces and the little kids with the face. And they looked at me and he said, "Pow, block, faces." It's almost good, right?
God,
I agree with that also.
You know what? That's awesome.
All right. Colin Kaminsky. Free labor. Talk to me.
Well, you know, I kind of wanted us to bring this up in the segment just
prior.
Well, it doesn't, I wanted to bring it up tonight because I am seeing Brewing Network listeners literally every day now.
Really?
Every day I've got somebody who comes in and says, thank you for supporting the Brewing Network. Thank you so much for all the things that you do. I listen to this show. I listen to that show.
Way out here in Napa's every day.
Every single day.
That's cool.
Most of these people are from out of California.
All 10 of them here. How do they get to talk to you? Do they have to say, is Colin here?
I am the only person that wanders around with a shirt that says Quality Control Department. And so they usually assume that the guy walking with the beer looking like he's really busy is the brewer.
Right.
And
you're easy to spot.
Yeah, so they tend to find me.
They just look for the nerd.
I do see people every day. I get phone calls every Monday now for people that want to help brew.
Nice. And you like that?
I do, actually. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to sit down with somebody and say, okay, well, where are you at? And some of these people know more about brewing than I do.
Colin.
Some of them know less, and we just do the best we can, and we make a beer.
Right.
Look for the nerd.
There's like 13 out there.
At least.
And what's really been fun about this is it's by both teaching and by being taught, we've grown the body of knowledge of beer. I would say this year, 30% of my batches of beer have been done with a guest brewer.
Really?
Most of those guest brewers have been from the Brewing Network.
That's awesome.
It doesn't save me any labor because the time that I spend entertaining and chatting and teaching and learning and all of that, I would normally spend fixing computers and repairing maintenance and scrubbing floors. And except for when Mike McDowell showed up, that was a difference. He showed up with a work crew.
Yeah,
so
he does that.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, could you guys scrub that floor over there?
Your free
and then
labor.
This wall over here. And then
Your free labor bought his own free labor.
Yeah, Tasty does bring minions. I'll give him that. He's a smart man.
And they were very ambitious and did a good job. So
cool.
But also, in all this, I got an intern this year for the first time.
Really?
Kyohei came from Tokyo.
Okay.
Wow.
Called me up, emailed me, said that he was very excited about learning to brew West Coast IPAs, that he was going to go to Siebel, that he'd spent a year in British Columbia learning English, and then he went to Siebel, and now he wants to come here.
How did Kyohei all the way over in Japan hear about you and want to come brew with you?
On the Brewing Network.
No kidding.
Yeah, had all the podcasts on his iPhone and would listen to his iPhone before, because he'd always get here an hour before I did because I'm always late, right? And he would.
That's why you fit right in.
And he would just show up and start listening to podcasts.
That is awesome.
Skype to his wife, and 24 years old, really excited about brewing and trying to do West Coast styles in Japan.
Cool.
And he did 24 batches of beer. That included 9 pails.
With you?
With me in 2 months.
Wow.
Sweet.
So you had him brewing every day. He was working hard.
I had him brewing 3 to 4 days a week.
Okay.
Well, they work hard.
Japanese?
The intern. The intern.
Oh, the intern.
No. Actually, there's a different work ethic there because when he came in, his first day here, we had a hard first day here. I had another guest brewer from the Brewing Network. He had just come in from Chicago.
Okay.
And he got a half a brew day, and we were pretty tired at the end of the day, and I'm like, okay, well, it's time for us. I'll buy you sushi. So we go over to the little sushi place down the street, and he's like, well, it's only 6:30. Well, yeah, it's 6:30. I've been working since 8. Oh, no. Well, what do you mean? Oh, we worked 14 hours.
Wow.
And every day, we'd be exhausted after 9 hours. But every day at 9 hours, we'd stop, and he'd look like, oh, gosh, I can't believe I'm getting off this easy.
That's amazing. Sometimes I sleep for 14 hours, and it makes me really tired. It's amazing that he could...
Crack at noon, and you're done. Yeah.
He used to work 14 hours and have an hour and 15-minute commute each way.
Wow. Okay.
Well, they also go to school like 500 days a year.
And I'm sure if he's not listening right now, he will hear this podcast. So hi, Kyohei, and say hi to your wife for me.
Don't you mean Ohio?
What?
Isn't that hi in Japanese?
I don't think so.
That's hello. I learned that from Follow That Bird when Big Bird went to Japan.
Oh, you did?
Ohio.
Well, it must be true then.
Yeah.
All right, well, hello to Kyohei and...
Ohio.
Kyohei.
Kyo.
A.
And it's Ohio.
I don't know.
So Kyo would be like a big Y, but it's a little Y. Kyo. And so and Tokyo, it's not Tokyo, it's Tokyo.
Tokyo. Kyohei. All right. I still would have screwed it up.
No.
Here every day.
Where? Nowhere.
I'd have been like, Kyohei, go home. It's been 14 hours already. Get out of here.
He helped so much. Literally, by the end, he could brew by himself. It wasn't an issue.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and listen, I'm obviously with you on this. People are so passionate about this industry and about beer and home brewing and craft beer that I've said it a million times over because it's my form of a paycheck. We couldn't do it without guys like this coming in and helping and showing how excited they are about the industry.
Well, and we're growing the industry, and that's one of the things. I mean, hopefully Kyohei will take California beer knowledge to Japan.
That'd be awesome.
And start doing some neat stuff over there. And the more people that know about beer, the more people are going to be buying beer.
Sure.
And Colin saying, "Come on down." Sure, yeah, I'll brew with you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Not all of our guests, Colin, their doors are not as open as yours are to invite people back.
They're afraid to say, "Hey, can I brew?"
But you're ready to do it.
You know what? I bet I've brewed with more than 100 people now.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I would find that really annoying, but you like that sort of thing.
You like people.
You like people.
It breaks up that random. It's that random break. It's like, okay, well, I've got to do another pale ale. I've already done 100.
Yeah.
What's going to be different?
No, I can see that, and that's very cool because you have a small system, so you have to brew very, very often. So to
and
get
I
in
brew
here
by myself.
Yeah. So to break that up, I understand that. That actually does. I would probably like that.
Yeah, I brew 105 days a year, so having 20 or 30 of those with a guest, that's fun.
Yeah, that's very cool. All right, so as always, if you're a BNer, come on down and introduce yourself to Colin, and chances are he'll invite you to empty out his mash tun.
Or just call me on Monday, and I'll tell you what day I'm brewing.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually pretty amazing the amount of listeners who come up to me locally and say, "Oh yeah, actually I brewed with Colin." And at this point, I'm like, "Yeah, you and everybody else."
The after fact, yeah. He's like a bicycle. Everybody gets a turn.
But what I like is when somebody comes in and they're like, "Oh, I really want to brew with you. I brew these styles," and then all we talk about is hot rods all day. And that's all they want to talk about. And it's like, okay, if you want to talk about hot rods, that's fine with me.
Right.
I don't care.
I think talk Westphalias.
See, I could come in. We could talk Volkswagens all day, Colin. Then I'd brew with you.
A lot of my first cars were Volkswagens, so
I know but I don't like talking Volkswagens with you because all you tell me is how my third cylinder is going to burn up eventually, and you just make me paranoid.
Do you have a?
My third cylinder's fine so far.
No, what year do you have?
So far.
What year is your?
79. I have a Type 4.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting on an external oil cooler despite your recommendation.
Type 2, you're going to be weak in that cylinder wall.
Yeah. Well, the Type 4 has the same third cylinder issue, I think.
Yeah, not as bad as the Type 2. The Type 2 was what it ended in 71, I think.
Okay.
You can weld that up. You're fine.
It's fine. All right, Colin, there's a couple pale ale names that we didn't talk about before we get out of here.
That's right. Palette Wrecker, but somebody already took that one. Yeah.
The artist, formerly known as Shat the Producer, reminded me that there's some really good names that didn't get talked about.
The producer, formerly known as Shat?
Well, we talked about how when this beer was being brewed, there was an entire pallet of grain dropped on somebody's car. So there is Hit and Run Pale Ale is a good name.
Hit and Run Pale Ale.
Which, by the way, Hit and Run Pale is one of my favorites. What was the other one, Shat? Oh, Dented Hood Pale Ale. Dented Hood.
Hood Ornament Pale.
Hood Ornament Pale. Busted Mercedes. I don't know what kind of car it was.
It was a Volvo. It was a brand new Volvo.
Oh, so
OMG.
Hood Ornament sounds like a fetish porn about piercings.
I really like Hit and Run Pale, man. That's a
Hood
pretty
Ornament?
good name.
No, nobody got Hood. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, pale guys don't hit and run.
Well, it happens.
OMG.
So, a couple of names there that you want to consider too.
Okay, I'll
you
keep
might
those
take
in
into
mind.
account that there was an accident on the day the beer was brewed, and sometimes that's a good story. So take those, especially because every other name we got was shit except for Friend of Mine.
Friend of Mine, I like.
Yeah,
that was a good name. Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. We do have to do a Drunk of the Week vote.
Who would that be?
Well, I
know you're thinking. Stop it.
Well,
no.
You don't want to be it again?
No.
I hope we're not going to.
Okay, give us your ABCs backwards, Doc.
I can't even say I'm sober. Which, by the way, in case you didn't know, is the answer the cops are looking for when they tell you to say your ABCs backwards. They're just waiting for you to say, what do you mean? I don't even know them sober. Oh, you got me, didn't you? Yes, Push.
Well, I hope we're not forgetting Bevo's story. Nobody wants to miss that dream.
I didn't know if that was a public story.
Which story is that?
And I don't know if it's a Downtown Joe's public story. How about we save it for the next in-studio show?
I think it might be inappropriate to tell in this setting.
Because I would like to explore the story, and I'm not going to do it here.
It's not a story, it's a dream.
But Bevo, so a little teaser coming up in the next episode of the session. A really creepy story about Sam and some other friends we know, and Beav, and we'll tell you that when we're back in the studio.
And a shower.
And a shower. Oh, Beav.
Oh, ew.
I don't know what happened to you, but I'm pretty sure I'm responsible.
Oh.
So, were there any other Drunk of the Week nominations in the room? Was anybody falling
guy right
down?
there.
Did anybody urinate where they're not supposed to?
Si, senor.
He looks fine. This guy's like, what are you talking about? I just worked out.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Everything's great.
I went to the bathroom.
Well, if there are no other nominations, I'm pretty...
No! I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
I know you hate it when you win this.
I don't like this.
But, Doc, you only get it when you earn it, if you think about it.
No.
No, I will not accept it.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
No,
cannot slur anything.
backwards.
So turn around and say it.
What if we have JP give you a sobriety test right here in front of the table?
No.
No.
There's
Drunk
no
of the Week, Dr. Scott. Back in action in 2010.
Yeah, this is Doc from like 3 years ago. Every fucking Sunday.
Bite me.
Here's how I know.
No, the diet power is the malt milk.
Now, let me tell you, this one was predictable. When Doc brings a good friend along, like our good friend Simon, it's almost a guarantee that Doc's going to have himself a nice time. He likes to be a good host. He likes to party down a little bit. He really enjoys the company of his friends. So the second that Doc told me he's bringing our friend Simon out, I could have written down this part of the show. I could have told you that it was going to be Doc feeling nice at the end. By the way, I know this because I'm the same as Doc. You bring out a good friend and you're like, all right, we're going to have a nice time. So
I've never gotten drunk with you. That's weird.
Well,
is this a bad thing?
No, they said good friend, Jake.
All right. I get that.
Also, you get all creepy when you drink. You're like, oh, I shouldn't do this. Everyone will be upset with me. I'm upset with myself.
As opposed to me, I should drink this more.
Whereas Doc goes, I haven't had another one yet.
I'm not done until I have another one.
Yeah.
Repeat.
Yeah. So, well, congratulations, Doc.
Thank you.
You've done it again.
You know what? If I go out to my car tomorrow and I find that medal again that I didn't expect.
Well, you'll get the medal. Don't worry. This wasn't a Drunk of the Year.
Medal.
It's not a Drunk of the Year performance, so you're okay. You're not in the...
I think we'll mail the medal to you addressed to your wife.
No.
Karen, please make sure Doc gets this.
All right, we do have a couple giveaways to do.
Oh.
What do we do? Let's do them right now. Let's give everything away. I need a beer. Can someone give away a beer to me?
Where the can go?
Well, I have an old school... You want this beer?
It's been there for like 8 hours.
So you don't want it?
Pale ale or whatever the fuck everyone's drinking. What do the kids drink today?
Beggars can't be choosers.
A pitcher of beer's coming.
Are there any lunch meat fans in the room? Are there any old school lunch meat fans? Been listening for a long time.
See my
A
shirt?
couple?
There's 2, and they should wrestle for it.
Moscow, do me a favor and check out the lunch meat shirt that should be on that chair to your left.
It's a 2X.
It's a 2X.
It's a 2X.
You're not a 2X, are you?
I think both of you could fit in that 2X.
Your gut might be a 2X. What size is that shirt you're wearing right there? That's a large.
It's a Schumann size.
Yeah, that thing's not going to fit you.
3X fat.
We need a big fat lunch meat fan for an old school lunch meat shirt that isn't even produced anymore. That's a 2X. Will that fit you? 1X. We don't have anybody that's going to fit. That's too bad.
I'll fit.
Thanks, brother.
We don't even make those anymore.
No, this is the last 2X original lunch meat shirt that we have.
Make him fit it.
Anybody want to
fit it and make fun?
Does anybody want a creepy shirt for their wife as a sleep shirt?
Who can fit into this? Strip it.
You guys, this is the last one.
You could use it to put a coat of carnauba wax on your
No.
This is actually exactly what I expected. You can't give away a lunch meat show. Nobody wants it.
Okay, Justin, I have a rather embarrassing question.
Get that thing off my hands. Take that hideous thing. Wash your car with it.
You can't just take it home. You
Clean
have
up the
to wear
blood with it.
now.
Yeah, good. My network.
All right, we have some
They're
other,
fighting for it. They're fighting for it.
we have some other giveaways to do. We're going to do them off the air because I'm done. We're out of here.
No. You have to wear it.
Justin, I have a rather embarrassing question to ask.
Who are you asking?
You.
Oh, shit.
Where do babies come from?
I have never heard a lunch meat show, so in 2 sentences, how would you describe it?
Oh, God.
You know what? Basically,
I've never heard one either.
I'll tell you what you do, Colin. You take out the word lunch meat and put in the Mona Lisa or the Statue of David, and then describe that, and then take that out and put lunch meat back in. It's the same thing.
I was told if you took a Sunday session and took the word beer out of it, that it would be lunch meat.
No, it's a lot worse than that.
It's much worse than that,
I had
unfortunately.
to explain it today. And other days twice.
Yeah. Whatever.
My 2 sentences to describe lunch meat would be a person should not listen, period.
But you can.
Because it's total shit. Period. Those are my 2. Doc's wearing his latest.
My 10-year-old wants this shirt so bad.
It's an awful show. I don't recommend it, and I'm quite ashamed that we even produce it on a rare occasion.
See, I personally really enjoy it because I like it a lot. It's news, but
It is news.
in a not funny way at all. It's funny news that's not funny because we do it. See?
That's about how it goes. All right, we're out of here. That's
it.
enough
It
already.
is the only show that Pusha streaked through, though.
Thank you, Justin.
Colin, thanks once again.
Colin,
you put
everybody,
together an
Colin.
awesome show. Colin Kaminsky and Tasty McDole doing a brand new pale ale out here. And
downtown Nephis.
You know, it made for a great topic, in my opinion, because I wanted to talk about designing a recipe, because we haven't done it in a while, for one, and because I think there's this huge trend of people moving away from it, so I'm glad you brought it up for us.
Yeah, people need to make their own recipes. Don't read a recipe. Make your own.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've done it, but in generalities, and it was really good to take a specific recipe and break that down.
Absolutely.
You know?
It was also great
You know
to
what I
have Mr. Push Eject on board to help us with the sound tonight. Thank you, Mr. Push.
Thank you, Push. Thank you to Mrs. Push for letting him stay, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah.
And Sammy wanted to make sure that we congratulated the Giants just one more time. So, yeah, that's right. Don't worry, Sam. I got your back. I'd hate for you to go home feeling like you didn't get your Giants fill. He's such a fan. It's amazing. I've never seen somebody so heartfelt about the Giants as our little Sam.
That's the only thing he is.
Yeah, he's heartfelt. He loves them Giants.
Okay, Sam is small and drunk. He's going to get killed. Can you stop? Sit down.
I'm going to encourage the killing of Sam now.
Those people are wondering the rubber hoses are kept in the brewery. They don't leave a brew.
That happen.
Sam is small. I've seen him in the bathroom.
All right, listeners at home, thanks for tuning in. Thanks once again to Colin Kaminsky and his staff here at Downtown Joe's for taking care of us.
And thanks for coming out, everybody who came out for this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll be back in a few months, I'm sure. We always are.
Right.
And if we say we're going to be at Downtown Joe's, make a trip out here. It's always a good time, and they're very gracious hosts. So we won't see you next week. It's Thanksgiving, and we are off. JP has a lot to do. So there will be no show next Sunday. But we'll be back the week after that with a homebrew topic, actually. Scott's got something lined up for us.
Homebrew topic?
Yeah, we're back to homebrew. We had a homebrew topic tonight, too, but we're going hardcore homebrew when we come back. So.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, plus it's a sit-up contest.
Oh, that's right. That'll be the 5th.
Me and the Beeve.
That's right.
Beeve, I'm only up to like 50.
Have you been practicing?
We all do it.
I'm not practicing. I'm exercising a lot, though, but I'm only up to like 50.
Really?
You got me beat.
We all
You
do
can
it.
really only in what
Everybody.
What amount of time? Like what's our time?
Like in
limit?
60 minutes.
Like in one set. Like I'm doing 50 at a time.
60 seconds.
In a
Everybody
minute?
has- yeah, 1 minute.
Oh, like it's in a... Oh, I can maybe do well at that. Like if it's
we
a
all
time
do it.
thing.
We all do it. Everybody.
Doc, you only say that because you're going to kick our ass. You do like 200 a day.
I know.
Yeah.
You bitch.
I know. He's like the oldest fit guy you've ever met.
Right.
Yeah. He looks old when you stare at him in the face, but he takes his shirt off. He's like 30 years old.
Right.
Yeah. That's why he keeps, by the way, taking his shirt off tonight.
I got to set the bar.
All right. Doc is the youngest 50-year-old I've ever met, I'm going to admit right now. I can't keep up with the bastard. Either in partying or exercising.
Scary, isn't it?
It's very scary.
Doc, whenever you take your shirt off, you set my bar. You know what I'm trying to say?
All right, we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Thanks again, everybody, for coming out. I appreciate it.
I'll take a Belgian brew at a time, and the women think the lambic fine. But don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real home brew. Home brew, don't you really love it that a home brew? Can't get enough of it. Home brew, it blows my mind. I love home brew all of the time. Yeah, I think I'll have me, well, I'm the one right now. Cherry stout, yeah, you know what I am talking about. So don't you give me that American crude, boys, I want a real home brew. Home brew, don't you really love it that home brew? Can't get enough of it. Home brew, it blows my mind.